It's gonna pick up the same. What's up, guys? It's the Bluebirds Podcast. I'm Dak.
I'm DG.
And yeah, this week we're gonna be kind of coming off of what I was just talking about. Last episode, I was just kind of talking about how we were up in shambles. I'll just hop in first about this last game. This is going to be kind of a preview as well, of course, for the Dolphins Monday night, but you know how we do it.
Gotta go into the rate. Come on, man.
Yeah.
AFC North.
Yeah.
Gotta
There's no way we cannot talk about it. I liked how Aaron played compared to what he's been playing like. Of course, I liked how DK played compared to what he's been playing like. Our defense I didn't care for. It still looked just as bad, if not worse, than it has in a lot of other games, in my opinion. I mean, there's some stuff I could point out, some players. I like Echols a lot. Echols is doing his thing. James Pierre is kind of reviving his run he had when Pickett and them were rookies. He was kind of doing well, at least one-on-one coverage. I'm trying not to be totally pessimistic, but I'm really not happy with this team. I don't really think an AFC North win is convincing enough. I think we could win a Ravens game when we're 0-13. And I only say that to say we know how AFC North ball goes. Not that it wasn't somewhat of a good effort. I just think Lamar Jackson was limited. If he wasn't, would have went different. I'm kind of up in the air on that touchdown ruling. I think if it was...
I mean, personally, I was just jumping in there. I think that was a touchdown, but I'm a Steelers fan, and they ain't call it that. So, hey, we got calls not go our way before. It's part of the game, but go ahead.
Yeah, on the internal, right when you're in the end zone, I do know that there's certain rules, apparently, that I've never fully dissected, but I do know 3 steps is definitely wanted when you're in that zone, as well as full-on football move. But I don't like that rule just because any part of the end zone could be kind of a toe type catch like that, a 2-step like it was from what I've seen. He almost got a third though. He might have, but
it's tough because I think if you was a runner, right? Say I caught the ball and then I turn around and I reach and I get hit and the ball pops out. Mm-hmm. If the ball crosses the goal line, it's a touchdown. So I just automatically think if that was in the field of play, like not in the end zone, it would have been a catch fumble. You know what I mean? So I look at things like when you extend your arms out, you take 1, 2, 3 steps, and then the ball comes out. I mean, how obvious does it got to get? If we, matter of fact, Roman Wilson's touchdown against the Packers was the same thing. If not, even he let go the ball quicker than likely. So and they called it a touchdown.
And it was garbage time, but that shouldn't matter. And that's how I feel. Like, I'm sure you agree.
Yeah, it was garbage time, but the rules are the rules.
Yeah,
so
it shouldn't matter.
You let one thing go.
Yeah,
then
it shouldn't.
I'm like I said, I'm not a Ravens fan, so I don't feel no pity for him. You know what I mean? At the end of the day.
Yeah, there's zero pity I feel for the Ravens fans and the Ravens players. There's only just proving my point more as to why I'm not as dapper about the win as a lot of other people are, because I really don't think it means too much. I think our offense looked better, but for God's sake, that's how they should look all the time. When me and D were talking on the phone, we misutilize all of our tight ends other than Darnell. Arthur Smith isn't crafty enough. We sat Roman Wilson for what reason? Which there's reasons, but I just don't like that we sat a young guy trying to develop a third rounder for guys that, they're veterans. I think Thielen helps a lot. I just don't think Scantlin's, yes, his size on the exterior does help, but I just don't think he's going to end up being a play guy. Right now, we're like, that was a big difference, but a couple more games in, we're going to realize that those receivers are average as well, and they're not getting as much space open as we think, in my opinion. So, I'm not happy about this win. Our defense is pretty bad. Our offense is still not the greatest. I mean, our defense, for God's sake, we can't stop the run, and that's the first part of the ball game. So, I mean, honestly, I'm gonna pass it to D because I have thoughts. I'll just when he says something, I'll think, but I'm just totally pessimistic. So.
All right, no, I mean, I understand it. I get it. I get the frustrations. There's things we got to clean up, and there's things that you look at and you're like, oh well, future wise, it's like it's them. It's them future wise. I'm not gonna lie, but just trying to focus on one game at a time. And this season, obviously, anytime we beat the Ravens, I'm happy. That's just me, you know what I mean? Because I know at the end of the day, it don't matter how good we are, how bad they are, or how good they are, or how bad we are. It's going to be a good game regardless. It's proven time and time again. So on that side of it, I'm happy with the win. You know, it's going to be gutsy. There's things that's going to go in the game that's not right. I mean, it's Baltimore Ravens. They're a good team. If we played this way against the Bills, I will also be happy. If we played this way against the Chiefs, I will also be happy. I'm happy because I know the record doesn't reflect it, but I know what they're capable of and what type of team they are. And that was a big game. You can't tell me you're not getting up for a rivalry game and to be at top of the division. So I think we got their best shot, and I think they got our best shot, and ultimately we came out on top. And that's the biggest thing about the NFL. Like, look at the landscape across the field. Of course, as a Steelers fan, it's a little different because we've been in the same position year after year after year. So it's like there's things that you probably want to happen future-wise, and there's things that's like, as a Steelers fan, I was telling my pops, like, I wouldn't be mad to see us lose out because it will force us to be in a situation that we probably need. But then again, the Steelers fan in me, anytime 1 o'clock comes or whatever the case, I'm going to be, cheering for the Steelers and hoping we come out on top because it's just like, that's the standard of Super Bowls, right? But the standard is also like, we expect to win every game. Even though, we could lose every game and we know this as a fan base, I expect us to win every game. I'm going to sit down. I'm going to watch it. I know there's not a season we'll go undefeated, but I'm going to sit down every week and watch it and hope we come out on top.
Of course.
So, I'll talk about the things I like to see. I like the way we took shots when we had the opportunities. That's always number one. When you got those one-on-one matchups, you expect Aaron Rodgers to be able to take shots to DK, and ultimately he did that enough to where they couldn't just worry about one thing. They couldn't just worry about, we stopped the run, now we got to stop DK. Or we stopped DK, now we got to stop the run. I think everything was flowing on offense until the late parts of the second half. I seen us get complacent again. But again, that's the style of offense I think we run. I could go in there and bash people. Arthur Smith, I'm not the biggest fan of, but you know what? He's here. It's not going to change, and I understand that. So I'm not going to bash him. Will I say is he the guy necessarily one for the future? Probably not, because I think we just need a guy who has the aggressive mindset. It's aggressive play callings, creativity. Arthur Smith doesn't always show that. But if we're just talking about the Baltimore game, like I said, I'm gonna point out some highlights. He touched on it. Brandon Echols, James Pierre. Right now, they're probably are 1 and 2 playing the way they're playing right now. I mean, JPJ is obviously going to be our number one guy moving forward and who we look at as our number one cornerback. But the guys that are playing the best right now, I gotta say, is Echols and Pierre in the secondary. I think, Queen, he had his moments where he had good moments and he had moments where he has bad moments. That's Queen. I'm starting to figure out that's kind of who Queen is. Like,
inconsistent player.
Yeah, he's inconsistent, but
he could come up big.
Oh, absolutely. I think obviously we got Harmon out, but our D line it's the worst thing about our defense right now, in my opinion. Like, it's just non-existent. Like the push, the everything, man. Just they had Derrick Henry. They have Derrick Henry. They got Lamar Jackson. That proves a problem for any team, right? Who's going against them. And I like the way we tackled Derrick Henry Sunday. I think we brought it to him a little bit. But my thing is that was mostly coming from our secondary players and our linebackers. We didn't really get much of a stalemate at most. If not, we was getting blown off the ball.
Last year we held them to under 30 yards, I think.
Yeah, won the game.
Under 50 or something.
Well, I will say I didn't. Other than that catch, there wasn't nothing too fluky about this win. I feel like, obviously, yes, we let them get back in the game. I think that's something you could expect from us. When we play any team and we get up on a lead, is they're going to get back in the game just by our approach. And it sucks. I don't like the approach, but
that's my thing.
That's us. Yeah, it's frustrating. Don't get it wrong. It's frustrating.
Sick and tired by now. Like, I used to be sick and tired, and now I'm just fully like, life got sucked out of me. I think I'm going to come back around a little bit because that's natural. You can't just stay pessimistic. That's just not a good way to be.
Nah, I mean, I understand it though. You know, the frustrations are valid. Um, Obviously, I want to take a different approach because of all the heat that's been on Tomlin. It's probably going to stay on Tomlin until the day he resigns or gets booted. So I just want to say, we came out there and fought. Like there's a lot of teams in the league that would have laid down when they lose a couple games and they break even after starting 4-1. They break down. Tomlin does something. There's something that he does in order to get players to want to play for him. Does that make him a great coach? No. Does that make him the guy for us? I'm not saying it does. What I'm saying is players want to play for him and players will play hard for him. And that is proven time and time. That's why we had teams that had no business breaking 500 and having made the playoffs. And there's the reason why we had, that's bottom line is he'll get the most out of the dudes that's there, right? My thing is, to touch on Dex point a little bit, is Adam Thielen and Valdez-Scantling going to bring our receiver core from bad to good or great? No, but it provides something that's a comfortability, maybe for A-Rod, whether that's being able to just get the ball out quick on hot routes or being able to get those one-on-ones with DK. I don't know if that will hold through the whole season. Us being able to, continue to get those one-on-one shots with DK, but yesterday it worked. Something worked. I don't know what it was, but something worked to where our offense was heading on the explosive plays. Kenny Gainwell, I don't think we talk about him enough on this channel, or I don't think he gets talked about enough, period. Is like he's versatile, man. Like he's someone you could rely on. He's starting to be someone you could rely on. He's like a 1A, 1B at this point, in my opinion. Warren's still the guy. Warren's still the bell cow, you know what I mean? But I think when Gainwell goes in there, he provides a different spark for our offense. So yeah, that's pretty much all I got on the game. Baltimore, ultimately I'm happy with the win. I understand Dex and everyone else's frustration who likes the Steelers. It's still there, It's still like there's things you're going to be able to, until things change. But trying to look on the positive side, we got Miami, a very winnable game. So I'm trying to look at, how can we finish off with the rest of the AFC being mediocre this year? And that's our best shot at this point. Is like we're falling victim to a bad division this year, which is why we are, because obviously if our division was anywhere near it has been, we're probably third, fourth in the division, always above the Browns. But
got some help from injury for sure.
Yeah, so of course, there's he touched on Lamar. This was the most mobile Lamar has been the past 3 games, and I think our defense, you're going to have to be mobile because we're going to get after you. So you're going to have to offset our pressures with something, and with Lamar, it's always going to be his legs. So, I think for the most part we controlled them. There's something that we always pretty much control. I don't know what game plan we had the last playoff game where we was just crashing. We did it last game too, but I could tell TJ was being more strategic, more smart with it, and he was aware of the pull of Lamar Jackson being able to pull the ball. In the playoffs, it was non-existent. We was crashing down on Derrick Henry, and Lamar was pulling the ball, and they was doing whatever they wanted on us. It was a different approach. But when we played them the way we did yesterday, we'll always have success. I think that's the problem. We draft to build on our division, not necessarily to run the AFC. And that's why we're not able to compete with the Kansas Cities of the world, the Buffaloes. We get spanked. Joe Burrow, when he's healthy, honestly, I mean, we always get pressure on Joe Burrow. We do what we do, but their offense always scores hella points on us when Joe Burrow's out there playing. And something got to change on that side of the ball. I'm not going to say act like I'm happy with the defensive performance, but especially down the stretch.
I mean, it has to change. I mean, I say it time and time again, we're the highest paid defense. You don't know better.
No, I am. Go ahead.
To touch on something you said, I do think Mike Tomlin it's a coined phrase at this point in Pittsburgh. He's a great motivator of men. He really is. But the analogy I'll draw there could be annoying. My girl always hates on me for my analogies, but I like them. I feel as if like you have like an old time war, a battle thing going on. Genghis Khan, okay? Wonderful motivator of men, horrible person, of course. trying to conquer nations and whatnot. And then you got the U.S. military right now against him. He could get his guys as hype as he wants, but when you're more strategic, when you have more thought going into your setup, your battle strategy, you're gonna destroy them. And that's kind of how I feel about Tomlin. I feel like he gets the guys rallied and whatnot. But we talk about the defense. He's a defensive minded coach, and that's been his thing. He's been very prideful on that side of the ball.
Yeah.
And you haven't put together a defense that's been living up to expectation in years. This is supposed to be this legendary defense. DK said it was the best defense he's played against. He thinks either it was him or Rodgers, maybe a mixture of the two, in the camp time, which that's another thing we do. We tend to get overly high as fans and players and coaches in that time of the year, instead of going out and proving it from day one, from week one. But yeah, man, I mean, highest paid defense. That's another reason I don't like Tomlin's place right now as our head coach, because he's supposed to be that guy, even though he has a D coordinator in Terrell Austin that I'm sure he'll scapegoat and fire this year. It's on him, in my opinion, because he's the guy that's so defensive minded. He should have better schemes going. He should draft the right players. He shouldn't be as greedy on defense in terms of paying people and drafting. Like, I mean, one of my thought processes, other than Rodgers looking good, you guys can kill me if you want, I've been a supporter of him from day one. I think rather than Derek Carmen, we should have drafted Shador. I bet you money we would all have way more fun watching the games right now. And I'm not even saying he'd be playing the greatest, but it's something new. It's trying to build on youth instead of... That's another thing I don't like about Tomlin. With all these older players that we're acquiring, it's like, why didn't you do that in the first place? He came out and said Johnny was a second receiver type of guy. Okay, then why aren't you utilizing him? He's fully healthy. He was a Pro Bowler last year. Why aren't you able to capitalize on your offensive players? Why aren't you able to capitalize on your draft picks such as Roman Wilson? You have to draft. You have to get guys in the middle of the year that were just at the house on the couch just to be like, hey, I'm going to fix this, guys. Trust me, I'm going to fix this. Just watch, like he did after the game we lost. Again. Just watch. Watch what, bro? You pick up veterans that, guess what? They're going to, this is my last thing.
Go ahead.
They are going, the only thing that these guys are going to do for us is keep us from a losing season. He said, hey, can you come help me go 9-8 or 10-7 again? He might not think that. Of course, consciously, he's a competitor, but that will be the outcome. We're just going to have another average season instead of developing young players such as Roman Wilson. We're just going to have another average season, and then at the end of it, we're going to sit there and realize we have a bunch of corpses running around, and we're going to have to try to rebuild. So
again, I'm not in those rooms, so or even on the practice field to see what guys are bringing to the table. So talking about, like, things could change, you know. Jonnu could have fit better in Miami's system, which he probably did. It's more of an open, spread it out system. I think, we could utilize, there's more ways we could utilize him. There's more ways we could utilize a lot of players. I think that comes from Arthur Smith. He's not a great offensive mind. And what I mean by that is just like, he's a play action guy. He's established a run game, take shots off the play action. And you got other coordinators who uses misdirections to be able to get their offense in a flow state or wherever the case is. And that's the type of guy I think we need. Someone who's good at identifying matchups and good at getting one-on-one matchups in space. A dude like that. I think that's where the non-creativity of our offense comes from, and why we're not able to utilize players the way we think we should. And that's why it's hard to be like, oh, if we had this person, that person, that. But you know what? If the system is a system, who's to say we're going to get the most out of any guys we want anyways? You know what I mean? And it's and that's, to me, to piggyback and agree off of Deck's point. I agree with that. You know, ultimately it does fall back on Mike Tomlin. You're the head guy. You're putting these dudes in position, and I think with him, you're in the AFC North, so yes, you want to establish a physicality. But like I said, go look at the Bengals. There's a reason why they're able to compete outside of the division, is because they got so much star power, and their system allows them to use their stars in a way that's, they're going to always be hard to stop. You stop this, then you have this. It's the same way when we had the Killer Bees. You take out AB, you got Martavis Bryant in the pass game. You take away Martavis Bryant, you got Le'Veon in the run game and the pass game. So it's like, what I'll say is this, people always say, oh, well, Tomlin's first Super Bowl, and I agree to an extent. It was inherited with college players. And I think that's a testament to the type of coach Tomlin is. When he has championship guys on the roster, I think he will get the most of them. Also, with that being said, I think, he got stuck in a rut probably the mid 2010s where it was like, Ben, you stayed too long. So we wasn't able to have a year where we was, really bad to the point where, because at the end of the day, experience wins. Experience wins you games and keeps you afloat. And that's what Big Ben did for us those years, is he kept us afloat. He didn't keep us afloat in a good way, honestly, because, he put us in position to where, you have Big Ben, you still are like, okay, we make the playoffs, we got a chance, right? That's how I feel, at least around those times. Was, yeah, we're not the best team, but most of the years we won the Super Bowl, we wasn't a top seed or nothing. So it was always a thing like, I think they was looking at if we could stay afloat and get in, we have a chance. We got 7 or whatever the case. But ultimately that hurt us, and it didn't allow us to, it forced us to be in a position where we went and got a guy off of hype, which was Pickett, which who knows what he could have been by this point. We don't know. But getting him, I didn't think he was a guy when we got him. It wasn't a quarterback heavy draft class, so maybe we could have skipped that year, not get a quarterback. We didn't go to the playoffs anyways, and we could have rebuilt after that season because there was some good quarterbacks the next year. C.J. Stroud and all them guys. So yeah, there's part of me that's like, Tomlin obviously deserves blame for the way it's been over the course of the years, right? But there's a part of him that's a good enough coach. That's why he maximizes the guys he has, and he's able to get the best out of certain guys because he is a good motivator. And that's part of coaching, Sometimes when you're not the brightest X's and O's, you hire assistants who are great in that aspect. You don't hire guys who come with the same philosophy as you.
Exactly.
Because at the end of the day, it's like, it's like, okay, you can have the motivator guy. Matter of fact, my brother is reading a book about Coach Saban, and the book was saying about how he always kept his staff diversitized, and he always had different people people on the staff that came for different reasons, for different purposes. Never had a room that was too similar, because at the end of the day, you need that guy that got the brains to know, oh, I'm checking your pride. You got Jalen Ramsey one-on-one with Jamar Chase. Oh, we're switching that. I know, Tommy, you're the guy, but I'm sorry, we got to switch that. You know what I mean? He's getting cooked. When you have too much pride and things, it's like, oh, we got Jalen Ramsey. He should be able to. Well, if it's not working, it's not working. Same with any other aspect of the game. You can't have too much pride to where you're scared to change. Again, he's one of those guys who talks about not living in his fears and da-da-da, but ultimately that's what he does as a coach. We hardly go for it on 4th and 1s and 4th and 2s in a world where you see teams like Detroit Lions and Bills and whoever the case, they're going for it on 4th and 4s. Yep. Because that's how much confidence they have in their team. I was happy we went for it on 4th and 1 and scored that very first touchdown. That was big to me. I looked at that, I was like, okay, I like that, because I feel like maybe a game or two ago we would have kicked the field goal to just go up 3-0 instead of 7, and we're in a position now where it's like we need 7 points, So, I could sit here and talk about Tomlin for a minute. There's things that I said it before. My stance on him is that he's not a bad coach. He's a good coach. We wouldn't even break even with half the teams we did if he wasn't. But there's an aspect that we're stuck, and if you don't know how to get out the mud, then ultimately you got to go. And I think that's probably what the future holds. Maybe not this year, next year, or even a year after, but at some point you're gonna have to break it off. And like I told Dak, Steeler fans, don't just think when we get rid of Tomlin, it's just gonna go from mediocre to up. No, it's probably gonna go from mediocre down, and we're gonna have to rebuild again. Which I know Steeler fans, I know us deep down, we're saying, yeah, that's what we want. We want to rebuild, but years go by slow. Whenever football season comes around, and every week we're gonna find something to complain about. It's Steeler fans. That's what we do. Ultimately, if we go next year and we fire the whole damn staff, come back with a different one, and they are terrible, and we're not winning games, well, I'm pretty sure there's no one in the fan base gonna be like, oh yeah, we're gonna have a number 1 draft pick. There might be some, but ultimately people are gonna be like, oh, or whatever the case. It's gonna cause a whole riot, because you're gonna have the Tomliners and you're gonna have the non-Tomliners, and they're going the Tomlin are gonna say, "I told you so," and the other ones are gonna say, "Well, we need to rebuild. This is what we should have been through, and it's Tomlin's fault." Da da da. So all that stuff is gonna come. Right now, I'm trying to live in the moment. We're number one in the division. With all this being said and all the negativity, not saying that it's coming on our end. The negativity is coming from y'all. We're just responding to it. But you know, at the end of the day, we're number one in the division right now in a weak AFC. Like I told Dak on the phone, I know I'm rambling a little bit. You know, if the AFC was stacked this year and Baltimore was Baltimore, Cincinnati was Cincinnati, Chiefs are the Chiefs, and even if the Bills are at 2 losses instead of maybe 5, wherever we're at, you know, I'd be nervous. I'd be like, yo, like, we're in shambles. Because we know, you know, but when you got fraudulent teams, Texans who might make it over a team like the Colts who might make it over a team like the Chiefs and stuff like that, it gives you a little bit of hope, like, we could, there's a chance, there's always a possibility. So I'm going to stay on the optimistic side of things, but also understand frustrations. And that's all I got on the Baltimore and Tomlin.
So what? If we win our division, we're top seed, of course.
Well, we'll be. I'm pretty sure we. I want to say we won it. Will we have to play the wild card game? Oh yeah, we probably have to play a wild card game still.
Yeah,
but it will be at home though. I'm pretty sure it'll be at home.
That's what I was gonna elaborate on. Is I'm actually scared because of the lack of competition in the regular season in the AFC. Mixed in with the fact that we could end up being on the top of the division. I'll tell you why. These teams come alive. There's like this energy. You know, the Chiefs, the Bills, everybody's making memes. Actually, I want to say the Chiefs are, somebody said eliminated.
They're not they got like a 16% chance. I would agree with you. If the Chiefs would have won last night, I would have been like, okay, well, they're about to probably win out. And even with their schedule remaining, they still might win out, but I don't know if that will be enough. They'll need a lot of help regardless. So just because how good the Chargers and Broncos are playing, it's hard to get a team with three teams. So, my bad.
Still, it's sneaky. It's sneaky just because I don't think seeding is going to be the tell-all. It never is, but with us, if we're a higher seed, if we play a lower seed, I feel like those are our type of games that we don't capitalize on. I almost feel like climbing the ladder would be easier for us, and not the top of the ladder, such as Buffalo. Excuse me, but I think not middle of the pack, but semi-decent teams. But yeah, I mean, what Darius just said beforehand though was pretty perfect. Like I was sitting here thinking about all the same stuff, and it just came out of his mouth. It's like, yeah, man, Tom is very stubborn in that way. He's very set in his ways, and it all comes back to him, and we know that's why head coaches get fired every day. It's because you need motion. I mean, imagine if a bunch of people say, imagine if another head coach didn't win a playoff game since 2017, he'd be gone.
Oh yeah, I seen them talking about that, and I agree. You know, I do. I think it's hard, right? It's hard because when you have so much success early on, it changes things. But I agree. You know, ultimately, Bill Belichick, who won the most Super Bowls, he parted ways with the Patriots. You know, things happen. It's like, I mean, I'm not putting Tomlin on that pedestal. So, at what point is it like, we need a change? I think it's probably been overdue, but we're at the point now where it's like, it's weird because we're at a position where if we could get a little bit of youth in there, for example, if we kept picking, I wouldn't be talking about fire Tomlin. I wouldn't be talking about
maybe
fire no one. I mean, unless he somehow found a way to mess up having DK and Pickens on the same field, then obviously that would make it that much easier to get rid of him because it's like, oh, you got these two dudes. Get out the door. Get out the door.
That's another point I would make to Tomlin's It's like oversaturated in terms of the same old, like, you got to think. A great organization in the Green Bay Packers was willing to move on from Aaron Rodgers when he was still very capable, right? I mean, he's our damn starter right now, and we're looking at him as fans and coaches as a possible gleam of hope. They're willing to move on from him and have one of the better young guys in the league with Jordan Love. we weren't willing to move on from Ben because Tomlin's a very scared. He lives in his fears, although he states not to.
Mm-hmm.
He wants to stay as mediocre as possible rather than dropping. That's why I'd be fine with having some bad seasons just due to the fact that we expect championship level play. And sometimes to get to the top, you got to be in the bottom for a little bit. But what I will say with that is, like I just said, man, like I'll repeat myself and I don't even care. Think about it. Organization in the Green Bay Packers that's been making more runs, making playoff games, probably in a better position right now to win larger games than us, was willing to move on from the guy that's our starter for a younger guy. Was Pickett the best pick? No, I hated it. He has been dropped from 3 teams. Who knew, butterfly effect? Who would know what would happen, like D was saying, if he would have stayed in Pittsburgh? I made the point earlier as to, in last episode or 2 episodes ago, why not keep Pickett? Why not keep Pickens? Of course, I love Pickens, and that was a horrible trade that went on. I think he's better than DK. And that's, just look at the stats right now, regardless of offensive scheme. And I know he does have CD. That helps a lot. But overall, what I'm getting at is you have to be willing to change. You have to be willing to move off from these names that have been so proven. One little thing I'm going to throw in. I'm actually excited kind of to see the Dolphins, just because Minka. I know that sounds weird, but I forgot until I looked at the schedule fully. Like, Minka's going to be back. And I've heard some things saying that him and Tomlin just couldn't coexist anymore. And that's one of the big reasons the trade went down the way it did, kind of abruptly. Also, I just think with our offense, I don't know, either we're going to light him up or he might get his, as that guy in the back there with how it's been looking offensively. I think it's been a lot of stale plays. We don't really get the middle of the field. I know the last game was different, but I don't know. That's something to look for. I know that's what a lot of people are going to be saying. Or
it's
just
a
not really think
storyline.
about it.
Jalen
It's one
Ramsey
guy.
being on our team, being on the
Yeah,
Dolphins. It's going to be a little storyline. To go back in on my last point on Tomlin, I agree with everything Declan said. I think, ultimately, having a losing season won't hurt us. I think Tomlin knows he's in a position now where he can't do that no more. If he was to have a losing season now, that takes away everything we know him for, which was breaking even and making the playoffs and da-da-da. So if he has a losing season, he has no crutch to fall back on. So I think he knows that, which is why I think he brought in dudes like Adam Thielen and because he knows that ultimately he had to make a change. Because if he didn't, people would have been at his throat.
His seat was heating up. And
exactly. So
now he thinks it's cooled off.
Yeah.
But
it is. But
that's why I wanted them to lose. As a Steeler fan, a lot of people would hate that. Yeah, because I wanted to keep turning the pressure up. Not because I want to see the Steelers lose, and not because I want to see a great coach self-sabotage, because I want change,
I understand it.
That's it.
You know what? There's a lot, but you know what? What's his name? Ryan Day from Ohio State. I know the pros in college is different, right? But, there's coaches who's been there and it was like, oh, he can't get over the hump. He can't get over the hump. And then when they do, it's like you kind of forget about everything you talked about. Do I think that's possible with Tomlin? I don't know. I really don't. I honestly think we're one or probably 2 solid playmakers on offense away from being a real deal. Like, I'm not talking about a guy who's borderline Pro Bowler or a dude who's been there. I'm talking about 2 elite guys, right, away from really having an elite offense. Because I think that our foundation of our O-line is only going to get better as the years go on. They're young. I think, obviously, at the quarterback position, we're going to have to freshen up and get younger there. I think at the running back position, we're solid there for a couple of years. We don't need to make too many. We don't even need to grab no running backs right now. We got Caleb Johnson back there who's not even getting no reps right now. So, which he got a couple, but you know what I'm saying. We're not really utilizing them because of Gainwell and Warren. So we're good there. We got DK. We know we need about 1 or 2 more guys that are very capable in our offense for us to probably take off, and maybe a new OC. Defensively, on paper, you're like, we're there, but we're not. D-line, we're there. The guys we have are disruptors. They're playmakers. But our defense as a whole, being able to stop the run and stop the pass is terrible. Can't shy away from it. Like he said, we're the highest paid defense. So at some point, something got to give. But off all that, I think, we done with that.
Yeah, overall, there ain't really. It's just going to be repeated throughout the season, most likely.
So we'll go into the Miami game. Starting there, we could talk about. I want to talk about the importance of the game before we really get into the game itself. This is a big game because on the other side of things, you have Baltimore traveling to Cincinnati this week, and we got Miami at home. If you're looking at it from a perspective of pulling away and being able to insert your names into the playoffs, this is a huge week because got the schedule pulled up here. We have the Dolphins, then we got to go to the Lions, and I don't feel good about that game. But after that, we got the Browns at home, and we have the Ravens at home. If we could somehow pull off 3-1, I think we secure our names in the playoffs, and I think we'll have decent momentum going into the playoffs. But yeah, with that being said, we need the Ravens to lose, of course, and we need to take care of business. I think Miami, obviously they struggle playing in the cold. I'm not putting that theory in against us because we're us at the end of the day. And I think we got to get pressure on Tua. I think we got to make him uncomfortable early in the game. If he establishes a rhythm, it could be a long night for us because they have the weapons to do so, Jalen Waddle, explosive dude who could, we could either minimize him or he could be a big problem in this game. They have, who is it? No, he left. A-Chain, that's who it is. They had A-Chain. He's another guy, explosive guy. Their offense, defense, they're not the greatest. I think it's a very winnable game for us. O-line's going to have to come to play. D-line's going to have to come and play. We're going to have to make them one-dimensional. If we do that, I think we should be able to come out with a win. And that's my little overview on the game.
Yeah, I mean, I'm not even going to be optimistic or pessimistic here. I don't really have a prediction. That doesn't make for good podcasting, but I try to be brutally honest. I try to just be someone talking. I think a lot of what D said is very true. We definitely just have to come out in the trenches, really. I think it lies within the trenches. I know that's a normal, cliche thing to say, but this type of game where I think we can minimize players based off our players on both sides of the ball in terms of skill, it's going to come down to those two areas. If the D-line can get in there, then I think any game's winnable, but specifically this one, because I don't really have too much confidence in their offense as a whole. The only reason I would have confidence in it, and I'm going to go back to what we were talking about, I'm trying not to, I'm just being a Tomlin hater, is like a guy like Mike McDaniel is why I would fear a team like this. As much as he's on the hot seat, his idea, his offensive mind is just, it's overpowering for a lot of coaches, and I think he outcoaches Tomlin definitely in the aspect of offensive talent. I think if he had this offense, he'd be better. If let's say he was just OC, and then I'm gonna backstep for 5 seconds. One thing I will have to point out about Tomlin, I hate doing stuff like this because Tom Brady was on the other side and what ifs, coulda, shoulda, woulda, but I just think with the killer bees, like as much as I would be so hype and ecstatic and I would shut up if Tomlin gets the Super Bowl in the next 5 years or so. You got to think about, I hate doing this to people, like, think about what he missed on. That's like LeBron saying LeBron should have won every finals. But I just think of it like if you're such a good coach, like that was the best team ever assembled on offense, in my opinion. Like you had the best running back, the best wide receiver.
I think they proved that on offense. Our defense was pretty trash then. I'm not to disagree with you.
They're the top 15 defense
because at the end of the day, the one thing about the Steelers, we're always very opportunistic, and that's been that way since forever. We always got turnovers, so I think like that has to do with it. But I remember William Gay, Ike Taylor, in his lesser years, and Mike Mitchell. They just get torched. Blake, 41, wherever his name was, hard hitter, solid player, but he was get toasted out there. Joe Hayden, he was a shell of what he was at Cleveland when he came to us, but he was decent. You know what I mean?
I'm more or less just saying they were top of the pack. Well,
but I'm not here to necessarily disagree with you. But what I will say is this. There's two parts of that, because when we drafted Le'Veon Bell, he wasn't a highly talented draft pick. We got him in the 3rd, 4th round.
Kevin Colbert was a better guy, I think, than Omar.
That might be true. I think draft-wise for sure.
Think about how many receivers we got.
But then I was going to say AB, another guy. We got him late, and we developed him. So there's guys, Mike Wallace, wasn't a big name dude coming out of the draft, but we developed him. So that's where I'm like,
when our coaches were allowed to be
okay, but that's where I was like, okay, well, some got to give. I don't want to just put. I mean, at the end of the day, you kind of have to, right? He's the head guy, But there's so much more that goes into a coach's room and a team than just a head guy. Because the head guy, honestly, probably has the least amount of communication with the players throughout the week. I'm just being real. Your OCs are going to be the one in the film room with you. Your position coaches, your D coordinators. Your head coach is there to keep things intact and be able to execute on his messages and things. I don't think he does a bad job of that. I honestly think we got put in a bad position from where we was. Because think about it, these are the things, same things we're talking about now is the same things we were talking about in 2017. That's why it's like, yo, what are we doing here? But then I got to be realistic and look at the side of, Big Ben himself, he hurt us, bro. Like, he did. Like, him being there that long, we never got a chance to really tank to the bottom levels because at the end of the day, we did have an old Joe Flacco in there and then a rookie, couple-year-old Lamar Jackson when Big Ben was there. Then you had the Browns, and then you had the Bengals who were terrible until Joe Burrow got there. So we were winning that division pretty often back then, right? So we was going to the playoffs and we was doing all of those things. But that's why it's hard for me to be like I would say it's mainly a Tomlin thing, but I gotta give him grace on certain things because as much as you're bigging up Mike Daniels, listen, he had Tyreek Hill and Jalen Waddle the past 5 years or 4 or 5 years, whatever it's been. You have a guy like A-Chain, Mozart at running back. You have these offensive weapons, Gesicki at tight end and Jonnu Smith, and you've been terrible. You know what I mean? So it's like
not production wise, but yeah,
in terms of winning. Yeah. At the end of the day, the name of the game is winning.
They put up 70. I know this is. They put up 72 points in a game. That was probably more than Tomlin in half of a season.
No doubt, but that's when it was first hot. That's when they first got Tyreek and stuff. And that's not me saying he's not a good offensive mind. Now he's not a good coach or he's not a brilliant coach. It's just me to say who we big up certain guys that really haven't done much with their own team. So I don't want to sit here and be like, okay, Mike McDaniel is that guy that's going to outcoach Tomlin. I don't necessarily think that. I just think there's things with Tomlin that's we're stuck, bro. At the end of the day, we're stuck. You know what I mean? There's got to be a mutual interest of breaking it off at some point. I think that's very true. But to say it's all Tomlin no, I don't think. Like I said, if we get rid of Tomlin, it's going to go downhill. I don't know if it'll go downhill for a year, 5 years, whatever the case. But there's going to be a lot of people that's going back on their words saying, man, I wish we had that guy leading our team. I think that's very true. And I think a lot of people don't look at it that way. But I think once you see us having multiple 3-win seasons, 5-win seasons, you're going to be like, damn, did we make the right decision? And then say Tomlin goes somewhere else and he turns their team up a little bit, we're going to look like dumbasses at the end of the day, right? And then there's a part of that goes the opposite direction of we could look like geniuses. Mm-hmm. But no, I think
the risk rather than live within the fear mediocrity.
Yeah, realm. No, I agree. Yeah, we can't keep coming in and doing the same thing every season. What I'll say is, we got some big wins this year. We beat the Colts. I'm not saying the Colts are the real deal or whatever the case, but on paper, record-wise, whatever the case, they're one of the top teams this year. Then we beat the Pats. Then you beat Baltimore.
We beat people early on for sure.
Yeah, I mean, and we probably had to close the game with the Seahawks all season. They've been blowing people out left and right. So there's something there that's like, nah, bro. Like, I'm not gonna share and just shit on our team. I'm not saying that's what Deck is doing. It's not. He's just voicing his opinion.
I mean,
but that's not what I'm gonna do because at the end of the day, there's a reason why the Chiefs are at their record. There's a reason why Baltimore is struggling the way they have. Even when Lamar came back, they still dropped 2 or 3 losses since he's been back. So I'm gonna put it on. Baltimore's not that great of a team this year. If you look at them, their second best wide receiver is Bateman. He could have gamed us with that first down catch, but he didn't.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So yeah, there's things, but Eric, you could always pick in. We're Steelers fans, right? So we're going to microscope the Steelers. But at the end of the day, there's probably other fan bases that are looking at their team and like, yo, I wish we had Tomlin. I wish we had this. And that's just at the end of the day, that's what it is.
The teams down here are saying that, and teams up here aren't saying that. And that's why it's a problem. It's worse to be in the middle of the road than it is to be at the bottom of it, in my opinion. For a long extended period of time, this would be perfectly fine. Like, a guy that we're both cool with that likes the Eagles. I've been seeing some of his posts. He's so mad, and I'm like, you just won a Super Bowl last year. I'm not saying to not be, not want to keep going.
But those are expectations.
Man, if that was us, I'm not saying I would sit back and relax. I'd probably be doing the same thing. But I wish I was in that mind frame where I'm like still mad, but we just got a bowl to add to our list. Like, holy hell!
And but I think that comes from because they get frustrated. The same way we get frustrated at Tomlin is the same way Philadelphia fans get frustrated with Hurts.
Yeah,
you know what I mean. So it's like they know, okay, yeah, we won with this guy before. We got a bull, yeah. But there's things that he does is like it's inexcusable. You know what I mean? So I understand it.
They don't live in their fears. They'll probably move on from him. Watch, Tomlin would never do that. Not saying this year. They're going to move on from him quicker than most teams would. And I've been a Jalen Hurts fan. I'm not saying I would, but that's the type of team that is willing to, you know, move on from a Chip Kelly, move on from people that just were doing big things in order to do bigger things. Mm-hmm. So that's something we're not used to doing, even if we're in a state of mediocrity that we're scared to move on from. There's teams that just won a Super Bowl 2 years ago that are trying to, you know, make some different moves. I want to be surprised if the Chiefs move on from a lot of people, of course, not Mahomes. You know, if they don't get what they want, what they're used to getting, they're going to make moves to be at the top. And we're just, you know, supposed to be this championship. Yeah.
I think we make moves, but we don't make necessarily the right moves. I think we do it, obviously, we do it with veteranship and not...
We do eye candy
not
moves.
With youth, you know
eye candy moves.
Yeah.
You hear a name and you say, oh, Adam Thielen, and then you realize it's not 2018.
Well, I hope, I was about to say, I hope no one had that reaction. No. I didn't, but I obviously...
I think some people would do. But.
There's a part of me that's like, it's necessary for this season we have going on. And at the end of the day, I'm not going to excuse that because I think that's true. Again, like I said, if we didn't make any moves with people at Acrisure screaming, fire Tomlin, this, that, and the third, and if he went to the next week against Baltimore without doing anything new, I mean, that would it's a lose-lose. It's a lose-lose. You can't win in that situation at the end of the day. So something had to change, and they ultimately, Roman Wilson was the fall guy on that. But we don't see what's going on with Roman Wilson practice. He might not know his plays that well. He might not be a reliable guy the way we think he is. You know what I mean?
He's just been getting open in the games more. I don't think he's been getting as open as some people depict. But he's been running people off a little bit of the field. But there's a lot. We talked about this. There's a back and forth with Roman and a lot of young players. So he probably does feel he's more of a.
But that's another thing. I think as Steelers fans, we do this as well. I think as Steelers fans, a lot of us we see something that's youthful, right? Something that's youthful, and we hold on to that youthfulness. When some dudes don't pan out, that's just a reality of the NFL. It's a factory league, man. You got so many players coming out every year. Not everyone's going to be able to contribute at the level you might have expected them to when you drafted them. And that could just be the case with Roman Wilson. Yeah, we could talk about him being open a little bit where the case is, but ultimately, you're not missing. You got A-Rod at quarterback. He's not missing dudes that they're truly open all the time, right? So I'm not going to sit here and act like he's just
he's
open
not all the way open.
It's just, there's part of you like, you want to develop talent, but there's a coaching side of it to where they could be like, hey, man, we gave him enough opportunities, but we're not seeing what we're necessarily looking for. And that could just be the case with Roman Wilson. It's not, when you have DK as your only receiver, you have no choice but for some other receivers to make plays here and there. At the end of the day, like, it's the truth. Someone's going to have to make play at some point, right?
Yeah,
I think Roman Wilson did that.
Scantless, too, because they haven't done shit yet.
Yeah, I mean he got the little third down again.
Yeah,
I'm a realistic guy, you know what I mean. So what I mean by that
6
is
yards
I'm not gonna
right?
but I'm not gonna sit here and act like I expected someone we acquired in the middle of the week to have a big impact that Sunday.
I don't either. I
expect them to have more of a role.
Like he's a big contributor, or other people are.
And in a way he was though. In a way he was. If you could get guys that are able to take away attentions and give you one-on-ones, which we haven't had the last 3 weeks. We never got any one-on-ones with DK, and that was part of the problem is no one else could get open.
We'll just see if it continues on. Is what?
Of course, of course.
I'm sitting back and watching. I just think this veteranship is good, but I also think not developing your players just to have the same result is bad. Because I mean, although it's different sides of the spectrum, it's not play related. I can't trust the wide receiver assessment from the Steelers when you just traded the best wide receiver in the league possibly.
I agree. But again, me being realistic, I'm always going to say it wasn't a talent thing with George Pickens. We all know that. They made it about something else. So whether that was big enough for us to trade him or not, I personally obviously don't think it was because seems like he's doing just fine with the Cowboys, who's probably more of a toxic environment than us. So I think we should have kept him. I think every Steelers fan thinks that, and that's one of the big knocks I have on him. Like I told Deck, it's not even the fact that we got rid of GP, right? Which that hurts a lot, right? But what hurts the most to me is just not having the backup plan of, okay, you went through the draft, you knew ultimately there's an inklet. If there's even an inklet that you could get rid or move on from George Pickens, you should have drafted a wideout. That's where I have a problem with, because
crazy.
It was a good.
We passed up on like
Egbuka.
Abuka.
That's the only. I don't care about Shador, honestly. Like me personally, I think Will Howard will end up being a better quarterback than him. But receiver wise, yeah, I mean,
passed up on a few, bro.
Yeah, Egbuka, dude from Ole Miss, Trey. I forget what dude's name. He's playing decent right now though.
And now we're trading for old heads because we can't make the moves in house. Like you're saying, we can't assess our talent and say, okay, we're probably gonna move on from this guy. I don't care if you move on from George Pickens. You knew you were gonna move on from him. We didn't get that good in return for him. Did we get a pick for next year's draft for him? A third. Well, that better be a Hall of Fame player. I better have 3 of his jerseys, all throwback, home, away, and I'm gonna wear them every day. That better be the player it is going to be. Because if we had an offensive-minded staff, not staff as a whole, and we had a young quarterback that was we're developing him well, and we had Pickens, we would look a lot different, and we would be closer to the apex. And rather than, keeping a guy on your team that's probably the best offensive player you've had since AB, you traded him, and now we're looking at DK, which I said it before, I'll say it again. I was higher on him before the season. As much as he just had 100-something yard game, and I still think he's so physically gifted, he's not the number 1 receiver that a lot of people think he is. I think his body is deceiving in a lot of ways.
I think he is what he is. At the end of the day, he was always a deep threat, not really an intermediate guy. But again, I don't really blame DK too much. I think ultimately we put him in the same position Pickens was in last year, which is why Pickens' numbers didn't skyrocket until this year. So I'm not. It's not. To me, it's not a DK. To me, it's not a DK thing. Yeah, he's a better contested guy. With DK, you got to get him the ball. It's that simple. You got to get a guy like that the ball in space. He's fast enough. He's big enough. He's talented enough. I don't want to just necessarily, because I've seen enough to where I'm like, okay, DK's that guy. You know what I mean? I've seen it. You're not putting up 130 some yards on teams if you are not capable of being a number 1. And to do it twice this season. No, I think he's very capable. It's just you gotta have guys around playmakers, man. Justin Jefferson, he's not doing much this year at all. Why? Because he doesn't have no one around him. He doesn't have a quarterback to give him the ball really. It's what happens. You know what I mean? There's guys that's gonna have fall off years when you don't have guys that are there to, that's why AB was always able to be great. I mean, I'll take it away because AB, he'll beat double, triple coverage sometimes, most times, and still make the play. So he was different, of course, but even having a Martavis Bryant next to him all the time, Emmanuel Sanders or Mike Wallace or whatever the case.
When they used to draft well.
Yeah, a Juju or whatever the case, man.
Offensively minded.
Yeah, so.
We had receivers everywhere. At one point, we had Martavis, Claypool, Juju. Then we moved on. We had Pickens.
I think
that's how it's been forever, man.
I think
Sanders,
it's a
Mike
shame.
Wallace, AB, Hines Ward. Before that, we've had receivers, and now we have one big dude that looks like he could be a bodyguard for damn everyone in the world at once. And a bunch of scrubs, bro. Bunch of scrubs. Yeah. So that's just the part. As much as I want DK to be great.
But you hear, all right, so you agree we got a bunch of scrubs at wideouts, right? You agree.
So he needs a partner in crime to get
But what I'll say is this goes back to my point of Tomlin is how bad of a coach bruh. Put this receiving core on any other team in the league, bro. I guarantee you they only got 3 wins. That's where it's like coaching to me.
It
that matters,
on the quarterback.
Bro.
But Aaron Rodgers is supposed to be this guy that can bring it
A-Rod, no. Hear me out. Because this is where we about to, this is where, because coaching really, we want to talk about coaching, right? Talking about, bro, A-Rod was just on the Jets with Breece Hall at running back, Devontae Adams, Garrett Wilson. He had weapons.
Yeah.
Them guys ain't win nothing last year.
Which is crazy because he's almost a coach.
But now you got Aaron Rodgers on the Steelers, right? With way less weapons. You got your number 1 receiver is not as good as Devontae Adams. Your number 2 receiver is nowhere near Garrett Wilson. Your number 3 receiver is nowhere near Breece Hall, what he does out the backfield. So it's like Tyler Conklin, a good tight end. Y'all couldn't win. They couldn't win with those guys, but you couldn't picture you could win. That's my thing of saying there's a culture here. There's something established that's like, Nah, you can't share and say Tomlin's a bad coach because look at as much as I agree with his approach, the way he drafts is terrible.
Yeah.
All those things I could agree with. Him as a coach, I disagree. I think he does get the best out of the guys he have. I think we got to do a better job of getting youthful talent. I think we got to do a better job of getting guys that are not just serviceable. Yeah. Guys that are real playmakers.
Would be, yes, it all comes from the top. So regardless of how good he does with his bed, he's the one that made it, right? So, and it just comes down, he's a top guy. He made his own bed. He's laying in it and he's being mediocre with it. My rebuttal to that would be, we forget about Pat Freiermuth, Jonnu Smith, guys like that, and even a young Roman Wilson that is fast enough to get open, Calvin Austin. If you give those guys to the Chiefs with Patrick Mahomes, and I know Patrick Mahomes will make anybody look polished, in a lot of ways, even though he's not doing well this year. It's just, it would look a lot different. Not even just him, Justin Herbert with that group.
But that's where I kind of,
we have a lot of.
That's where I disagree just a tad because
second,
Rasheed Rice is a great playmaker. Xavier Worthy's a great playmaker, fast guy, and they're trash bag. You know what I'm saying? You got Travis Kelce there. They're still trash bag.
They're probably not going to become postseason if they do get
I don't think they're going. If they do, shout out to them. But they still got to go to the Denver and they still got to go to the Chargers. Whether they come out or not, it's possible. It's Mahomes, right? But I think you got there's points where he's like,
and Andy Reid. That's the
you gotta give slack a little bit. You got to, because at the end of the day, there's a part of it. If you're being realistic, right, non-biased on whatever your feelings is. I'm a guy who's telling you I think we need to move on from Tomlin, but I could be realistic with the approach, right? I could be realistic and saying he's a good coach. He will go somewhere else. If he was to go to the Jags tomorrow,
he would turn it
bro,
up.
they might go to the Super Bowl. Bro.
I've been talking this is my thing. I've been talking out of both sides of my mouth with him for a long time. So now, instead of going, and they can be true, but now, instead of doing what the Steelers are doing and doing that as well, and probably guys in the locker room, as much as they all say they love playing for him, you get a guy like Ben and James Harrison that are now saying, yeah, it's time to move on, as well as they're saying, well, I like Tomlin. Usually you expect these guys to be, I love Coach Tomlin, which a lot of them do, but what I'm getting at is, all that other side of the mouth, all the positivity, once he leaves, I could make a list really long about how great. But right now, I'm just focusing on the negative, not to put my lights down, which is happening naturally, because it's getting time where all that, he does this, never lose a season. He puts good teams together. He wins with Duck Hodges, for God's sake. That's just all getting repetitive because at the end of the day, he hasn't won a playoff game. So what? The regular season matters that much? It doesn't.
No, I just think at the end of the day, it's not really about what matters, what doesn't. It's about being realistic. You know what I mean? At the end of the day, you got to be realistic, right? I think if we don't go to playoffs, if we win 3 games with Duck Hodges like we probably was supposed to, right? People are still gonna say fire Tomlin. It's the reality of being the head guy at a place like Pittsburgh. Of course,
maybe he would have got fired.
So they probably would have fired him, right?
Maybe we would have.
But you didn't.
Maybe we would.
No. I'm not talking about firing him. I'm talking about you didn't have a losing season.
No, we didn't.
Right. So
but I don't hold that.
He was able to get that team to perform at a level, right, to where they could win games. And I'm talking about that roster was dog shit, right? So there's an element of coaching that has to be there in order to get those group of guys playing.
And that's why I say he's a good coach.
At a certain amount of level, right? Yeah. And that's where I'm saying there's a difference between saying two things could be true. You could say you want to move on from him, but saying he's a bad coach, which is what a lot of the Steelers fans try to say, is false. It's a false narrative. You can't push it with a guy like me around because I'm not going to let you. He's not.
I haven't said he's a bad coach, by the way, really.
Run it back on what I said. I said Steeler Nation.
No, I know. I'm saying. I'm just pointing that out. That's my argument. Is the good or the bad doesn't amount to.
But okay, back to your point with the the regular season, postseason success, right? It goes hand in hand. You can't have postseason success without regular season success, vice versa, right? So at the end of the day, if you put another coach in that position who does exactly what he's supposed to do with a bummy team and not win and not take their team to playoffs, it's going to be the same thing from Steeler Nation. We're still going to say you need to go. Oh, it's not the standard to not go to the playoffs. It's going to be the same thing. Yeah, our standard is to go to the Super Bowl, but if you get a coach in there who has a losing record his first 2 seasons he's in there, we're going to be ready to run him out the city too.
Yeah, but at least we tried at that point, right? That's
is that try?
That approach is more. I'd rather live in mediocrity than be at the bottom.
There's two approaches you could look at, right? There's an approach of you could get rid of, you could clean house, right? You could clean house, bring some new guys in, and you could, start fresh. Or there's the approach of you can have your head guy there, you can make surrounding changes, you can actually get a guy with an offensive brain in his head, right? I think Todd Haley was the only guy who had a creative offensive mind, and people hated him. People hated Todd Haley.
But like you said earlier, Tomlin forces those guys out. He gets a guy that wants to do play action and establish a run game only in Arthur Smith. So
I agree. I agree.
How are we
and
ever
at the end of the day, that's why
him?
I told you, yeah, at some point it got to fall back on you. You're the head guy who's, I'm not going to, obviously the owner, the damn, what's called is making the decisions, GMs and stuff, right? But at the end of the day, you have enough pool in there to where it's like, yeah, you got enough say to where these things matter. Who you're bringing in, you got enough say. I'm pretty sure if you would have been like, hey, Rooney, I'm Con, I'm not, no. It's a no-go for Arthur Smith. I'm pretty sure they listen and we don't make that move, right? So, yeah, there's a part of it where you got to be able to diagnose things better. But I know everyone's saying this now, right? But I swear to God, when I was the one man in the room saying Arthur Smith's not the guy, I swear to goodness to you, everybody else was telling me he was. I swear to goodness. I was the one guy that was saying he's not the dude.
I thought he was better than he is, for sure.
Exactly. So, at what point are we, come on, man, we can't always move the goalposts, right? Like, at some point, you got to stay true to what you say and what you think.
Yeah, and it still falls back.
And I think, ultimately, you got to get a dude. That's why our offense, it would be different if we never seen our offense do good before, right? No, we have seen that before. We've seen our offense perform at a top level before. We've seen our defense not. We've seen our defense perform at a top level before behind Tomlin. And we also seen our defense not perform at a top level with Mike Tomlin. You want to know why they performed at a top level defensively when we had Tomlin as head coach? Because we had Dick LeBeau.
Yeah.
A great defensive coordinator. Hear me out. Now, we have Terrell Austin, a terrible defensive coordinator. We have Todd Haley, a great offensive mind. Then we go from Matt Canada to Arthur Smith, not great offensive minds. It's not rocket science. It's not always about the dude who's at the top is what I'm saying. Yeah, that's why I'm trying to get at. Go ahead and get rid of Tomlin, but come back with Arthur Smith, right? Come back with Arthur Smith and come back with Terrell Austin, but get rid of Mike Tomlin. And we're going to see what our season looks like. You feel what I'm saying?
But without Mike Tomlin, they probably wouldn't be
here. It would be bad.
So,
it would be bad.
But they wouldn't be here, and that's the thing is, at the end of the day, he seems to be hesitant to want people in the room that are smarter than him, at least in their respective field. That's an issue. That's a big issue. That's one of the main reasons. You could say without him, his coordinators would suck. Of course, he's the one assembling the coordinators, in my opinion. Without him, we would at least have
but at what point did y'all start saying these dudes suck,
that is a big time.
You see what I'm saying? Because at what point do we say these defensive coordinators suck? Because this is the thing that kills me, right? We just had Brian Flores. People were saying he was bad.
As an assistant. Offensive assistant.
As a defensive. He was defensive.
Brian Flores was
Brian Flores is a defensive guy.
Yeah, but they hired him as an offensive assistant.
He was defensive. He was
no, I'm tripping. I'm thinking about Shazier.
We have Brian Flores. Everyone wanted to push him out when he was in Pittsburgh. Okay? They say he was a bad coordinator. He didn't know what he was talking about. Puts our defense in bad positions. Look what he's doing now.
But Tomlin didn't hire him as his DC. He brought up a guy in.
It don't matter. He has enough experience to know how to run a defense. So that's a guy who, when he gets in your room, he's gonna have enough say so because at the end of the day he's been a D coordinator and a head coach. So that's not a guy that's going in there. He's taking back seats to people. He's not.
Yeah, but he didn't get the keys. That's the thing. If he did, he would have known what it would have looked like.
He did get the keys.
How?
He was our D coordinator.
No,
he was our defensive coordinator 2 years ago.
Brian Flores?
Yes.
No, he wasn't.
Yes, he was.
I swear on my life. Nah, he was a defensive assistant only, and that's the thing. Regardless
if you're a defensive assistant or not, bro, it doesn't matter. You still had great defensive minds, and people were saying get rid of him.
I don't know. I just think you put Bill Belichick in a room, and he's just an assistant back in the day. He's not going to have as much say so. Brian Flores was. That's the thing. He got fired from head coach position. The Rooneys went and looked at him, and of course Tomlin. And they brought him into the room to be an assistant. And the year after he did well as an assistant, a bunch of players on the team, including Kenny
Pickett, say he did well.
Said that I'm talking about internally, the players said that they helped him so much. They never saw him as a guy that they could move up.
They say that about the coach.
Tomlin never said, hey, I'm going to move you up to a coordinator possibly. Instead, he went to the Vikings and he's doing great. that makes Mike Tomlin suck hard in that scenario because he can't assess talent even in a coach's room. He might want to go pick a guy up.
You don't bring a guy if you don't see the talent. I don't even think that makes sense.
Well, after their season though, but Terrell,
bro, that was it was the damn fan base, bro. Y'all are the one that pushed people out, bro. At the end of the day, did it with Todd Haley. Every good coordinator we had, y'all did the same thing. At one point,
that much hate
at one point.
Flores? As an assistant?
Yes.
He was just an assistant.
Yes, it was that much hate on Flores. People were saying, do not bring him back. Let him go somewhere else and be a head coach.
I thought it was more love in that sense. Like, don't keep him in his clutched assistant role when he could be a damn head coach. That's what I thought was happening that year. That's at least how I felt. I never didn't like him, but he never had enough say-so in our defense. So,
I think he did. But at the end of the day, like I said, we could sit here and go back and forth about it. But at the end of the day, Mike Tomlin, you're not a bad coach for bringing these type of rosters to a level to where y'all are going to the playoffs and breaking 500 every year. I'm not gonna call you a bad coach for that. If you want to, if other people want to, I understand it. I understand where you're coming from. That's your opinion. I understand it. But for me, what makes a bad coach is someone that week in, week out can't motivate a team, can't get a team to play at a high level, and can't do any of the coaching thing. Tomlin does all those things that you need as a head coach. That's why I'm gonna say, as a head coach, Nick Saban, go look at his coaching tree. He's had Kirby Smart. He's had Lane Kiffin. He's had Pete Golden. He's had all these dudes that were assistants under him. You think Nick Saban was going to win or not win without these guys being on the staff? No, he understands that, right? But at the end of the day, who are we going to give the success to? We're going to give it to Nick Saban.
Could I ask you a question from that too? And this is something me and my dad often talk about. And that's why I'm getting to the point of, yes, he does do well. He is a great head coach in that sense and motivating people. Me and my dad talk about this often. You look at coaches throughout even high school, college, NFL, and you say, damn, they have a coaching tree. Their guys go on and get head coach positions, coordinator positions. And at the end of the day, we know a lot of people disagree that Tomlin or just any head coach is necessarily bringing in all these players. You know, they let the front office do their thing. I'm not going to fully say that Tomlin's bringing in players, but when it comes to coaching, I really do think he is obviously calling up the guys he wants. And he doesn't have a damn coaching tree. He has guys that were with Cowher, and he has a couple. I like his O-line coach from back in the day. But other than that, he doesn't have a coaching tree. We don't see his coordinators move on and flourish into anything other than the same thing or lower. They go to linebacker coaches and whatnot.
So them going somewhere else and being lower is Tomlin's fault?
No,
right,
because
so
because look, this is what I'm saying, and I want you to just kind of look at it for both ways. You can have your opinion. Coaching trees develop just like a player. So you make coaches better by them being in the room with you a lot of times. That you inform them, you get them better as a head coach. They learn from you. Therefore, a bunch of coaches that have been in the room with them. Yeah, that's my point I'm making.
Right. Here's the difference.
He hasn't made anyone a better coach.
Here's the difference. The Steelers, we don't go through coordinators every year. We probably only went through, 2-3 defensive coordinators since Tomlin been there? And 2 to 3 offensive coordinators?
I mean,
is that fair? Is that fair? Keith Butler, Dick LeBeau, and
I wouldn't fully agree as to. I mean, we're not as strict on it as head coach. I mean, you see a guy like Todd Haley. Why didn't he move on to do anything really?
He's old as hell. He was old as hell when he left the Steelers. So he didn't.
How old? Todd Haley. He still got brown hair in his face.
He stopped coaching.
Until now, right now he has brown hair on his face.
He stopped coaching though when he left.
But I'm saying that's not old.
But he, like I say, he stopped coaching when he left the Steelers. So how are we supposed to know what he's supposed to look like with anyone else? He was good with the Steelers. I know that. He was good with the Steelers. We had the top offense when he was there.
He doesn't have a coaching tree.
He was top offense when he was there.
In my opinion.
Again, that's where I say I have to disagree. Because when you look at a coaching tree, again, Saban was older, where Kiffin is a younger dude, right? Tomlin was the coaching tree. He was the youngest, probably, member of the staff as a head coach.
Then it's his job to bring other young people up once he's the older guy, correct?
He already had people in place. Dick LeBeau was already there when he got there.
That's my point I'm making. He was good with other coaches that were already developed by other coaches. He's been bad with coaches that he's supposed to develop.
To your point, it would make sense if you were saying, okay, Tomlin got there and he brought these coordinators with him. And then he brought these guys here. So no, they were already there before he got there. So
That's
there's
fine,
nothing that he could do.
But you don't
to
have
develop.
to bring coordinators with you in order to get the guys around you that you like and build them up over
So
the
what?
years. He's
Okay.
been there for 20 years. Who the hell was successful after him?
Again, we could talk about after him. That has nothing to do with Tomlin.
With him, really.
Now, Dick LeBeau was one of the best defensive coordinators at one time, and Todd
tossed
Haley
him
was one of the top offensive coordinators.
They hated him in Pittsburgh too, even though
it
he
don't
was
matter
electric.
for him. Go look at the stats. Go look at the stats and go look at where our offense was when we had him.
That's fine.
Right? Am I right or am I wrong?
I mean, I'll be ready to throw the flowers out for Tomlin.
Am I right or am I wrong, though?
I think you're wrong.
Am I? No. So answer my question. If I'm wrong, then you answer this with a yes or a no. Was Todd Haley a top offensive coordinator when he was on the Pittsburgh Steelers?
No. He was top in terms of production. His offense was a top. That doesn't make him a top offensive
what does that even mean?
Look it up.
His
offense, play calls.
His offense was a top.
He still was running bubble
His
screens.
offense was a top.
But
he wasn't a top coordinator. You're running the offense, bro.
But he was running bubble screens.
What are we talking about?
Doing dumb
shit. You can't have a problem. You can't be real about it.
I've watched hardcore when he coached. It was still bad plays. My point.
Again, there's always going to be bad plays, bro. That's any team. It's always going to be a say-so in anything, bro. It don't matter how good a coordinator is. You're always going to yell at the TV and say that was a dumbass play call. I don't care who you was as a coordinator, right?
That point of podcast, we got to agree to disagree.
I'm going to finish my points because you went on your points. So I'm going to finish my points.
That's fine.
Again, Dick LeBeau, was he or was he not a top defensive coordinator for the Steelers?
He was the top defensive coordinator for the Steelers, yes.
Okay.
But not because
so why are we talking about anything any coaches did outside of what they did when he was with the Steelers? At the end of the day, that's what matters.
We see differently a lot.
That's what matters, bro.
I'm going to end it here. This is just my opinion. We see differently a lot there because I think the ability to... This is a sign of a good coach, in my opinion, in all aspects, because you're not just coaching players. You're helping coach coaches at the end of the day. Some of them need it. When you see a guy like Ben Johnson be able to move on and go get a high head coach position.
Ben Johnson is the reason why the Detroit Lions is what they is, though. It's different when you're talking about those scenarios aren't the same. So before you even make your point, you got to understand that one.
Do you not think that it's a good sign when a head coach can make a coordinator end up being a head coach one day? That means he did very good with them.
That means that the coordinator did very good on that team.
And the head coach helps let them be fluid.
So again, last year, Ben Johnson, when he was doing all those trick plays and shit, and the Detroit's offense was looking unstoppable, you're putting 40 on teams, right?
Who allows them to do that?
Same things we was doing when we had Todd Haley, by the way, putting 40 on people, 50 on people, back-to-back 500-yard passing games, 6 TDs each game.
Who allows him to do that?
Okay.
Who opens up the page and says, not Todd Haley?
Not Dan Campbell, because Ben Johnson is a good enough mind on offense.
I'm saying he opens up the area in which he lets him flourish. Tomlin restricts people.
Again, let me finish. You have Ben Johnson, when his name got hot, right? When his name got hot, that's what gave his opportunity into having another offensive coordinator, a head coaching position. Am I right or am I wrong? Him doing what he did last year, was he a head coaching name before then? He was still the offensive coordinator 2 years ago for Detroit, right? People weren't talking about him being a head coach after that year. It wasn't until last year when they started putting up 40 points per game where people were talking about he could be a head coach. Is that because of Dan Campbell or is that because of Ben Johnson? At the end of the day, grown men are grown men, right?
I mean, he was doing his thing as a coordinator.
Grown men are grown men, right?
Terrell Austin isn't doing his thing as a coordinator as well as
because he's a bad coordinator.
Okay, fine. I hope Tomlin gets a better coordinator.
Arthur Smith. Arthur Smith. Are you going to say, if he leaves Pittsburgh, he already was a head coach before he got to Pittsburgh?
Yeah.
So you brought in a guy who was already a head coach.
He's a bad.
You don't need
example.
You don't need a. Bro, if you act like we're the Browns who go through coordinators every year, bro, we only went through about 6 coordinators on offense and defense our whole time being Steelers fans.
Altogether.
Yes. From the time Tomlin walked in the office to now, bro, name 3 offensive coordinators we had since Tomlin's been there.
Matt Canada,
Todd
Haley, and Arthur Smith, and before that, I think we had a 4th. I really do.
Okay, and even if you have 4, bro, that's not that much compared to
over 3,
17 years.
Half, and then on defense, we had Dick, we had Terrell Austin, we had Kevin Adams.
Yeah, Keith Butler. Huh?
Keith Butler. I met Kevin Adams is that douchebag from Twitter. And I want to say we did have another. I think we had 8 altogether. I could be wrong, but I swear
that was our only 3. We had Keith Butler, Dick LeBeau, and now Terrell Austin. So my point in saying is, bro, those are older dudes too. Ben Johnson's a young guy, bro. He's a young dude. So him going to Detroit, yeah, that's different. Obviously, you're going to have more head coaching opportunities in the future for younger dudes that are good play callers, right? Yeah. Todd Haley was not a younger dude when he came to the Steelers, and he was still a top play caller. We're putting too much on Tomlin, in my opinion. Like, how does I see it. If y'all really think, no, you don't have to. We could both agree to disagree. Yeah, I can have my own opinion. You guys yours, bro.
Coaches should develop coaches as well, and I just think he doesn't.
I don't. I think the only job of a coach is to develop players and bring in the staff for them to do their job. You know, at the end of the day, maybe if we're talking about college, you bring guys who have offensive minds, and that's why Kiffin is at LSU now, and you have dudes who are able to elevate in the game of colleges.
Don't you want a guy with more offensive mind on the Steelers right now, though?
Of course I do.
So you got to bring him in. Right?
But am I blaming that on Tomlin? No. I'm blaming that on the guy who's been a head coach and been an offensive coordinator for the years. I'm not blaming that on Tomlin. I'm blaming that on the guy
who are we going to bring in after? Not who are we going to bring in?
That's not my decision.
No, not who. I'm saying who do you think it falls on when we have another offensive coordinator that doesn't do well? Him or
no? I think it falls on. At the end of the day, I think it falls on the coordinator. I don't think it falls on the head coach.
But who puts him in that position is my point. Like,
my point. All right, no, hear me out. All right, this is my last point. This is my last point, bro. I swear to goodness to you, y'all. When we got Arthur Smith, all I was hearing about is the play action. That he's so good with the play action. He's so good with the run game and then hitting deep shots down the field. We haven't seen any of that.
Yeah.
So that you're telling me that's Tomlin's fault and not the guy who's been in position for years at offensive coordinator and at head coach? We're going to blame that on Tomlin? No, it would be different if we haven't seen it before where, like I said, you know who was the head guy when we had a top offensive coordinator? Tomlin. You want to know who was the head coach when we had a top defensive coordinator? Tomlin. So I'm not going to sit here
but
and
those
say,
two people he didn't put in the position. He didn't appoint
But that's my point. Okay. He didn't put them in position.
So we see it from different sides of the spectrum. That's it. I see it from one side. You see that people should just come in and do their damn job. And
no, I think there's cohesiveness. I think there's cohesiveness, right? But I think at the end of the day, you gotta have cohesiveness within your coaching staff, right? Yeah. I agree with that. I believe that 100%. But with that being said, an offensive coordinator got a job to do. The head coach got a job to do.
Yeah.
And that's why you got to hire all these guys. If we want to put the blame on all Tomlin, then let's not hire no coordinators. Let's just let Tomlin run the whole thing, so then we'll have a reason to really blame it on him.
Well, I want him to hire the right ones. But my point is,
when you have seasoned coordinators like dudes that was there before Tomlin, are you going to give Tomlin is it his reason for their success too?
Hell no, because
it's their reason. Did he build up Arthur Smith, or was Arthur Smith already an old coordinator?
That's my point. Coach? He's bringing in. He's just like he does with players,
bro. Shit,
he can't develop a damn quarterback.
Here's my thing, bro. Like I said again, now y'all want to agree with me, but when we first got Arthur Smith, you was one of them. Everyone else was one of them.
Yeah.
That was saying he's a good old coordinator.
I let him play out.
He was a good old coordinator. I was the one saying he didn't win. No, hear me out. I'm the one that was saying he didn't do shit in Atlanta. He didn't do shit for the Titans. I knew he wasn't the guy. But of course, me being a Steelers fan, being optimistic, I'm going to let it play out, right?
Well, that's what I did.
But I ultimately knew that wasn't the guy. Why are we going from Matt Canada to another guy who wants to force the run game in there to open up the play action? It's not going to work. This is not 2014. I've been said this, right? So, yeah, now y'all can fall back on your words and saying, oh, he's not a good coordinator, da-da-da. That's on Arthur Smith. He never was a good coordinator. Y'all fell into that.
Well, but I never fell into that. Is my point.
I don't know.
Tomlin had to have something to do with it. Correct?
I don't know. You don't know, and I don't know.
But so you would hope the head coach has at least over half percentage to do with bringing a coordinator in.
Yeah, probably, yeah.
Okay, then he's not assigning the right guys. I'll at least say that.
Okay, so where was this at? See, this is the type of guy I am, though. I was able to say that when we hired him. Why are y'all now trying to move the goalposts? Because he was a great coordinator before we got him. It was a great hire for Tomlin when we got him. But now all of a sudden it's who's the guy? Who's the guy?
He was better than I gave him.
Okay,
but I didn't think he was the apex of coaching.
Come on, bro. That's contradictory. Right? That's contradictory, isn't it?
Because at the end of the day, when a player comes in, you expect him to be good, and he's not. You're not about to switch.
You can't go, but that's what you're doing.
Or you are going to switch.
No, I'm not going to switch. You can't go from saying it's a good hire, and then when it doesn't work out, we're blaming the head coach on the hire.
Yeah, you can.
Bro,
because they don't end up doing the shit.
How does that make sense,
I'm not saying blame the head coach on the hire. No,
y'all tell me.
I'm saying he knows more than me. I hope. So you would think that if
Okay,
you, DG, are saying that he's been a bad defensive coordinator, right?
In my opinion,
then why did Tomlin agree with you?
In my opinion, I don't know.
He wouldn't fucking bring him in if he thought he was that bad.
You thought, right?
That's fine, but I
you thought it was a good hire, right?
Yeah, but I can hold you to
so
the
let me start here. Let me start
players.
here. Okay, if you hire a guy, right, and everyone, the whole fan base, and everyone saying, "Oh yeah, we got this guy, we got Arthur Smith, right? And you got one guy who's already saying he didn't do nothing for Atlanta, they didn't win nothing there. He didn't do nothing for the Titans, he didn't win nothing there. And y'all are the ones saying, "No, this is a good hire. Just let it play out. Give him time. Okay, Tomlin, that's a good hire. Okay, it doesn't pan out. Oh, Tomlin, you couldn't evaluate that he was a bad coordinator. You didn't know he was already a bad coordinator. It was a good hire when it was good for y'all to think it was a good hire. But when things don't pan out, y'all want to say it's so-and-so's fault. No.
So
you thought it was a good hire. If
right?
you thought it was a good hire, then you got to stick to those same reasons why you thought he was a good hire.
Is it same with you in assessing like an Aaron Rodgers, like how you thought he was going to be really good and now he's kind of wavering? Is that the same? Do I have to hold you to that same standard, or since it's just Aaron Rodgers?
That's totally different.
Okay, because it's not.
That's totally different. Am I wrong? Am I wrong? I'm not mad at all. Am I wrong? You seem like the one that's a little bit mad, but if we're talking about my analysis on Aaron Rodgers, I say he's going to be good in the red zone. He's been good in the red zone. We've been putting up points. I say he's not going to have a lot of turnovers. He hasn't had a lot of turnovers. I say A-Rod's going to do exactly what the fuck he's been doing. Bottom line, am I right or am I wrong?
I mean, I think we both
did I say if we don't keep him protected, it's going to be bad.
I think we both
the games we lost, not you can't speak for yourself, can't speak for me, because it's all on tape. Y'all could go back and watch the very first. You could go back and watch you could watch the very first episode. I told you what to expect from A-Rod. It's exactly what we're getting from him.
I wasn't high on him.
Is it A-Rod's fault that okay, hold on. Let me show y'all something. See, I come with the facts, bro. You know what I mean? I'm gonna come with the facts, not the other stuff.
Oh my.
I'm gonna come with the facts though. Watch.
That's cool. What are we on?
I'm
on an hour.
Yes. Whether we cut it or not, I'm gonna just come with the facts real quick.
No, this will be my last speaking because it's getting long.
That's all. Okay, we could cut it whenever. Let me just take y'all here, bro. Let me take y'all here real quick, man. Let me take y'all here. It all makes sense to y'all. All right, now where's the first game at? We played the Jets first.
Yep.
Oh shit.
Did we lose?
No. So hear me out, y'all.
3 points.
Hear me out. We put up 34 points the first game, y'all. Is that A-Rod's fault? I'll say it is. It is his fault that we scored 34 points that game, okay? We gave up 32 points. I'll say that's the defensive fault. Yeah. 17 points against the Seahawks. Better than everything we've seen last season. It's the Seahawks. They've been blowing people out, right? 21 points we put on 3 touchdowns against the Patriots. When was the last time we scored 3 touchdowns last season? In one game.
I'll give it to you.
No. Let me keep going. I didn't, but let me keep going, right?
So, I mean,
we got 24 points against. Y'all remember that time when we could only score 10 to 13 points for the whole season? I do. But so now we got 24 points against the Vikings. Probably one of our better offensive games that season. I think A-Rod looked great. 23 points against the Browns. 31 points against the Bengals. 25 points against the Packers. 27 points against the Colts. 25 points against the Chargers. 10 points against the Chargers. 34 points against the Bengals. 28 points against the Bears. That A-Rod didn't play that game, so I'm not gonna give you credit. We do what we do against a good team, so we got our ass whooped against the Bills. 27 points against the Ravens. So I'm not blaming nothing for our offense this year.
That's fine. I just have to see what he does in the tail end of the season, as well as if we make it to the playoffs.
Yeah, I think exactly what we're getting from A-Rod is exactly what I expected.
I'll give it to you.
It's exactly what I expected.
You didn't put him at the
I didn't say he was going to be the
top. My logic was more or less.
I say he's going to capitalize in the red zone.
The same as playing. In terms of if you're high on a player, which you have been, and then get low on him because the proof's in the pudding, then it's you have to stick by the nature of what you said.
Yes, here's me. I'm like I said.
You don't have to.
Like I said, this is
still
exactly. I don't have to think they're good.
You can admit that you.
But I could. Wrong. I will say. What I will say is the points that I stuck to on why I thought this was a good coordinator or why I thought this was a good player would never waver. That's not who I am. I might change my opinion, right? That's valid. We're human, but I would never change my reasoning, right? So if I thought that beforehand, Arthur Smith was a good hire, and I was like, hey, man, no, he's a good hire. He does this and he does X, Y, Z on offense. I'm going to stick by that even when we're performing bad, okay?
Yeah, okay.
That's where I'm coming from is you can't sit here and say it's a good hire, right? You can't say these dudes are good hires, and then when things don't go right, we're going to blame the guys outside of the hire. I'm blaming Arthur Smith. Y'all can blame Tomlin if y'all want to. Go ahead.
I trusted our other guys to assemble or just analyze his play properly. And also, I will say I fell victim to the fact that he made Mariota look really good there, even though he had Derrick Henry, which is, at the time, really a juggernaut. So I fell victim to his resume wasn't huge, but I fell victim to his year in Tennessee that he turned things up. I also fell victim to Tomlin, and I'm not just going to blame Tomlin. I want the Rooney's gone too, and that's probably the craziest take in Pittsburgh. But I blame those guys for putting him in a position to make me think that he was well assessed. That's what I say a lot, even with players. I'm not the smartest guy. I don't spend all my time doing this stuff when it comes to NFL or football at all. You can look into certain attributes to a guy like Arthur Smith. Yes, he's heavy play action. Yes, he's run dominant, which I thought would mix well.
But my point is, okay, all right, my bad. But what I'm saying is this, right? What we had with Canada was the same approach that we have now with Arthur Smith, which is why I was one of the only people. And I'm not trying to, I'm just being so serious to you. Because whenever I was trying to make this point to people wasn't hearing it. But now people want to hear it. Because, I mean, it's been, 2 years now, going on in his second year that he's almost over with. So now people are like, okay, well, is it going to get any better? Well, what I say to that is I stuck to what I said when it came to bringing in the coordinator. I didn't think he didn't win anything. So why are we so hype about a dude who never won anything?
Why are they so hyped to hire him then?
Okay, I don't know, but everyone thought it was a good hire.
That's why I hate on Tomlin with this though, because if Canada was doing the same shit as Arthur Smith, then why did Tomlin think that it was going to be different?
Mike Tomlin probably seen the same things in him that you seen, that everyone else did, right? That's okay. That was your perspective on the hire, right?
But he has control of the offense to an extent.
But
too.
that was your
He's that was coach. He gets
that was
call
your that was your
big top play.
That was your initial reaction on the
My
hire.
initial assessment is always going to change. It could be that it's better or worse.
Fine.
That's just how I am, because I'm willing to see the proof in the pudding and then change my stance because that's. I mean,
okay, but here's the disconnect. You're allowed to. That's what I do too. I do that too. But what I'm not gonna do is put the blame on someone else because my prediction was wrong. No, I'm gonna blame it. I'm gonna blame it on the guy. I'm gonna blame it on the guy that came in to do the job and he's not doing the job well. That's what I'm blaming.
I get where you're coming from because that is a good point. At the end of the day, I had a similar initial assessment as Tomlin did. But outside of me being a fan and being a non-know-it-all, this is my point. If he keeps, and we definitely see from different sides of the spectrum, so there's really not point of talking when it comes to coaching trees. But outside of coaching trees, and we're just talking about guys that are already assembled.
But coaching trees are not just like 3 or 4 different coaching trees are a tree of coaches.
Yeah, I get that.
A coaching tree is never even meant for the NFL. That's a college thing, a college term for coaches that go on and branch off to the other 100.
I would only disagree because as of lately, a lot of offensive minds that were once coordinators are moving up to the head coaching position, and it's not like
who Ben Johnson. That's it.
The guy before, what's his name? I mean, I'm not going to sit here and act like I'm a perfect human and have these names on dial, but I do know that there's been more than just Ben Johnson that was hired.
I don't know, but y'all tell me.
Standpoint. I mean, Mike McDaniel was the offensive coordinator.
Yeah, and he's doing dog shit. He's doing worse than Tomlin. He's doing worse than the guy you guys want to push out.
He's moving up the pedestal. Even if Tomlin was assembling guys from his coaching tree that ended up doing bad, I just think moving people up to higher positions within even a company is a good sign of a good boss.
But here's my thing: is Mike McDaniel is younger than Mike Tomlin. Mike Tomlin was always the youth on our staff since he's been here. Am I right or am I wrong?
Maybe that's where the problem lies. Maybe that's
am I
why
right or am I wrong though? He's been a youth, so it's different. A coaching tree is guys under you, not guys above you. Like this is the point I was trying to make, and saying Dick LeBeau was already there. He is not under Tomlin, so that's not. If anything, Tomlin's the coaching tree.
That's also a point I was making. Okay, so that's the point. I use that with the point I'm making, you use that with the point you're making. That's why I could tell we are opposite sides of the spectrum. I see that as a flaw on Tomlin's part. It wasn't a flaw. I see that as a reality, just like you do, that he came in with well-experienced coaches, correct? You see it as, well, he was the younger guy. What was he supposed to do? He's learning from them.
I'm talking about, I'm rebutting the thing of the coaching tree, right? To have a coaching tree, right? Saban, he has a coaching tree. Why? Because he's the oldest dude in the head coaching room. Okay, so everyone under him is going to be the ones that's thriving to find a different position. Tomlin was that young guy coming to a situation with a bunch of older dudes, is what I'm saying. Yeah. So you had experienced coordinators who was already good and well seasoned at their position, right? Yeah. So when you go through seasons of having these guys for years on years, and you're not going through a whole bunch of offensive and defensive coordinators, we haven't until these last couple of years is the most we ever went through.
Well, that's
right?
the same thing that
that's
my quarterback position too. He hasn't hit on the quarterback position at all yet. No, it's probably because he came in with a guy, but that kind of hurts a coach because there is coaches that do come in like he did. He was 20 something when he got hired for us, right, or 30. He came into our program, our organization. And this is my end of the spectrum with coaching trees is, yes, he came in with experienced guys. Of course, he's not going to bring a bunch of his friends in, you know. He did have Tony, I think, at one point. Or no, he was under Tony. So he was technically a part of Tony's coaching tree. But that's my more or less my point is, of course, he's not going to come in with guys.
He was that guy in the coaching tree that got the opportunity.
Yes,
what I'm saying.
But now
that's what I'm saying.
But that's how it kind of goes with a lot of people too, right? Like you got a guy like John Gruden, which I know he didn't end up being much. He is a football connoisseur. I'm just thinking of guys. Belichick was probably part of somewhat of a coaching tree. I know that for a fact he was as a D coordinator. They move up. Guys help them put themselves in better positions, and then they help other guys put themselves in better positions. Right. That's my only point. Is Tomlin doesn't really have guys under him that I feel like I've ever.
But here's what I'll say. Here's what I say to that. This is what I'm saying to that exact thing you're saying. Tomlin hasn't even had the opportunity to get young guys under him to be able to have them move on to a different.
He's had the opportunity. He might not have done it. I'm saying he's had years where he could fire people. He can press that red button.
Yeah, I'm saying, but if you fire someone, are they going to get an opportunity elsewhere?
No, I'm talking about coaching tree as in this. I'm sitting here and let's say it's Max Sterling. That's a random name that's not even real. And he's my current offensive coordinator. And I see a guy in the league, or I know a guy, which is natural. All Tomlin cares about is football, you would think in some ways. Not true. But he studies the game. He knows other students of the game, maybe somebody that's younger that he thinks has a bright offensive mind, such as what we could use right now, in my opinion, that this year, even for instance, this could be a case, even though he's later in his career. I would give him a big, big shout out in terms of being a coach because I think greatness rubs off in all aspects, not just players. If he were to fire Arthur Smith, or at least be part of the coalition to fire him, and point out a guy in the league or in the college realm, like a head coach of college, to appoint as his guy for offensive coordinator, then if that guy goes on to have success, you have to give Tomlin the credit.
Now you're talking about bringing people in, but the first initial point we was making was not that, though.
Yeah, it was
our first initial point, though. What you said was guys that left Mike Tomlin and became something. It wasn't guys that we brought in. That's not.
No, but it's a mixture. But that's the same thing I'm getting at. You got to look at it. Here's Mike Tomlin as a head coach in the NFL. I'm trying to explain myself to you because that's not at all. I'm not switching sides. Here's Mike Tomlin as a head coach in the NFL. Here's the college level. Here's even outsiders, maybe. My point is, he brings them here with him, and then they move on. So he's constantly pushing people upward. He's at the apex, really. He's a damn coach.
So that's going to go back to my point, brother. Like, you got to hear my side of the spectrum. I understand what you're saying, but you're talking about bringing in guys. Again, when he came here, he was that guy that probably came off a coaching tree into the position he was, right?
Yeah, he was.
I know he was because they go back on it every game talking about he was at William Mary, then he was there. So my point in saying that is, when he came here, you had older guys here already, right? Okay. You had guys here already. So Dick LeBeau, a great defensive coordinator. You wasn't going to get rid of Dick LeBeau. So you ain't have an opportunity to kick no one out and bring no one in. Okay? Then you had Todd Haley. He was a good offensive coordinator. Whether y'all want to say he wasn't, go look at the stats. Go look at where our offense ranked statistically every year when he was there. And tell me he wasn't a good offensive coordinator because he called a screenplay here and there. Ultimately, he was a good offensive coordinator. So you wasn't going to push that guy out, right? So once we got to a point which was 2017.
Didn't he get fired?
Yeah, but hear me out. Okay. Before 2017 or 2018, wherever it was when we parted ways with Todd Haley, which I'm not going to say and back to y'all, so I don't know if it was...
I think people
if it was a mutual thing or whatever it was.
I remember it was fire Todd Haley.
Yeah, probably was because we're a retarded fan base. So yeah, it probably was that. So then, boom. What at what time frame are you looking at? Yeah, we should have brought this guy in. Bro, the offensive minded game. Todd Haley was the spread offense before there was spread offenses in the NFL. That's why we
outside of
took
him,
off.
I'd have to say since Tomlin's a defensive coach, right? This is all I'll bring up instead of offensive because you're right. I mean, in that way, it's been a while since Todd Haley, but
It'd be different.
These guys haven't been.
If
hidden.
we go through
Canada and them haven't been hidden. Canada came from. He brought him up from Pitt. That is a coaching tree that he thought was gonna.
Yeah, and it didn't work. That's the other side of things.
Tomlin a little bit because he saw him and said,
"Okay,
come
exactly."
Here.
So.
Exactly. That's my point, though.
But that's your point. Okay,
yeah.
So if that's your point, right?
Maybe I'm not articulating.
No.
Well
if that's your
enough,
point, if that's your point, okay. So here's what I would say to that point, right, y'all. What I would say to that is,
and Terrell,
how can you win, bro?
Too.
How can you win? So okay, you're telling me he went outside and went to the college ranks to bring someone up, right? Mm-hmm. That he thought was a good offensive mind, and it didn't work out. Yeah. That happens. Just like you bring in guys who are experienced in the NFL and it doesn't work out. That happens, right?
But
are we going to blame Tomlin because things don't work out all the time? I'm not. Y'all can.
I'm just saying
you
that
can, but I'm not going to.
Like for instance, this is my last thing on that because we see different, and that's the fun part of this. It's because conversation, one day we could both share one side of the spectrum. I could be on your side, you could be on my side, and that's just how.
No, I could agree in saying we need to move on from Tomlin, bro. Like,
no, I know
I'm
that.
there, bro.
I know that.
I'm there.
I think,
but I'm not going to sit here and shit on him as a coach. That's not what we're going to do.
Because
if that was the case, bro, we would have been in position to draft a top quarterback. We would have been in position. If he was a bad coach, we would have been in position to beat the Browns and mess up on a first round top 2 pick every year. Yeah. You think the Browns wouldn't want Mike Tomlin right now? To me. No, but do you think the Browns wouldn't want Mike Tomlin right now?
Of course they would.
Even with them every year getting a top 10 draft pick.
I've never been a person to say that he's not going to be the first guy on everyone's list that isn't doing well.
I know he's a good coach. Here's my thing. There's not always a factor to where you're drafting early every year, and that's going to change your team. We've seen it. We've seen it with Detroit when they was with Matt Stafford, bro. They had Calvin Johnson and Matt Stafford. They was still winning 1-16, 0-16 every year, right? Yeah. So it doesn't. You could be put in a position. You could be put in a position to get a top guy. It doesn't mean that person's going to pan out. No, how many busts do we see every year?
I see it.
So where I'm coming from is there's a stability that Mike Tomlin gives the Steelers, though. Is what I'm saying. Of course. There's a winning element that he brings to the Steelers, and which is why we probably haven't got rid of him, because they know if we do get rid of him, we're probably not going to get someone that's going to elevate us to the top right away. It's not going to happen, bro.
But that's you kind of agreeing. Well, we both have shared that sentiment, correct? Like, what? We think that he is in the middle, and that's one of the frustrations is we know he's a good coach. We know that we would do worse without him probably initially. But that's my problem is I think
initially
he hasn't reached.
Okay, here's my thing.
Who's he hired as his D coordinator that's made us do well? Yeah, we had some top statistics. But in terms of being a real defense,
I agree. But Keith Butler wasn't terrible. Like you said, top 15 in the league. That came out your mouth, right?
Was Keith Butler our coordinator when we had Killer Bees?
Yeah.
Was he?
So
yeah, it wasn't bad. Top 15 isn't bad.
Okay. So come on, bro. We can't.
But on the other end of that, you could argue why the hell is Big Ben, AB, and Le'Veon if they had a top 15 defense?
There's this guy named Tom Brady. I'm sorry. There's certain dudes where come on, bro. Like,
but we had them for longer than however many years, and he didn't win a Super Bowl every single year that we had to go.
No, yeah, that's true.
That's my point.
I agree with you, but so it's like, the year we could have went, we lost to the Patriots.
I just think Tomlin, including me, because I've stood up for him for years. If we were having this conversation 2 years ago, me and DG would be sitting here with our arms around each other, singing to the gods about how Tomlin is a great coach. My point is, I can't keep on giving him these passes and not taking away from his greatness. Like I said, I will throw a bunch of bouquets out.
Why can't it be a thing of, okay, it's do you think people, here's my point, right? Yeah, has he done what Bill Belichick done? No. But you're not going to see people discredit Bill Belichick as a coach because when Tom Brady left, it didn't work out for him in the Patriots, right? You're going to mutually agree to part ways, and two things can be true. I don't think people in general understand that enough, that two things are allowed to be true at the same time, right? Everything is valid. Your feelings are valid. So two things can be true. And I think it's true that Tom is a great coach. I think if he goes somewhere else, he will turn the culture up and whatever the case is, and people will love playing for him. And that's not ever going to change because he's a personable coach.
I agree.
But I also think at the end of the day, we're stuck in the mud because of because of not how bad of a coach he is, not how because he can't pick this quarter and that. I think because of how good of a coach he is and being able to maximize the sorry guys that we had. I'm not saying every year, yeah, we had the killer bees, but before that, the roster was trash. Then a little bit after that, the roster was trash, and we still was breaking even or going to the playoffs. Is that a big accomplishment? No, because we strive for Super Bowls over here, right? But there's a reason for that. It's because he is able to maximize the most out of certain guys, and guys do want to play their hearts out for him more times than not. So, yeah, there's an element.
I agree with most of that.
There's an element of,
but
we need to move on. There's an element of he's a good coach.
The biggest thing is, and like I say this a million times, this is definitely the last thing I'm saying. When it comes down to this, which is it's good bickering, mostly it shows how much we care about the Steelers. What I will say is that I'm not ChatGPT, so like, but I commonly do point out how he is a great coach. Now, if you go back in all the clips, there's going to be times where I say fuck him, and there's going to be times where I show love. But that's just natural. Yeah. But I'm never going to take away from the fact that Tomlin is a great coach. What I will say is I don't think he puts the best players in position. I don't think he develops talent that well. And I don't think that he's putting the best coaches in position.
All right, okay.
That sounds like I'm saying he's a shitty coach, but I'm really...
No. Just,
that's not his
characteristics. I know I shouldn't respond back to every single point you're making, right? I understand that. I probably shouldn't. But what I'm going to say to that, if this was 4 years ago, would we say that he couldn't develop talent? We wouldn't be saying that because that's all he proven since is that he could develop guys like Juju. He could develop all these guys that we got through the draft. That's been a thing for
Juju's up
until
layout,
up until all right, Emmanuel Sanders, Antonio Brown,
Mike Wallace,
all those guys, right, that we had, right?
Great. Our offensive
we developed those,
were better,
but we developed those guys. Okay, so at what point? So you're giving the offensive coaches credit for that, but whenever it's something bad,
no, I'll give Tomlin that credit. I guess more or less, this is what I will ask you. Not ask you at all. But this is what I will say, and this is where I'm at with it, because I would have made these arguments years ago. You're right. When
it's the truth, though. It's the truth because we got hold on, but we can't just skip over that because that's what we're talking about, right? We're talking about he's not able to he's not able to develop talent, but that's all he's able to show over the years is that's exactly what he's been able to do is develop talent. So what? Because of these last 4 some years where we've been in the realms of not having a top wide receiver, Deontay Johnson having the drops, always dropping the damn ball, like there's certain things that's like I'm not gonna kill Tomlin for that. I'm just not because
I get you.
It
gets to a point where it's like
it gets to a point where you can be
frustrated, though. You know,
I agree.
And it gets to the point where it's like 2017, the last playoff win. It's like okay, we can point out all the good stuff about him. That's what I've been doing. I'm not ChatGPT,
listen, bro,
so I can't as a ChatGPT or AI or just look at something on the internet, which I do on this platform. Praise the guy and shit on the guy, and that's for players as well and everything. And that's how I am with life, period. You know, we got friends that sometimes we're like, oh, he's fucking annoying. And then we're like, oh, he's the greatest. This is what I'm going to get at. There's one side of the spectrum, another side of the spectrum. And, of course, something that without emotion, such as generate like some sort of information technology, can say those two things at once without having emotion taught you over here. Right now, I'd say I'm so over here to the negative that, yes, I am missing out on any positive Tomlin has had. And that's just me. That's more of a me thing. Now, am I still saying stuff that I deem true, even if he did win a Super Bowl this year? Yes. But that doesn't mean that I wouldn't turn around and wave my terrible towel because I'm emotional. I think honestly, we're one of the most emotional teams in the league in terms of fans. I think us and Philly are definitely probably the most emotional.
Yeah.
But that's my last thing is just more or less. We definitely don't see eye on that. I guess leave in the comments if you guys are here how you feel about Tomlin as a coach. Not necessarily right now, just the little intricacies that we were talking about in terms of developing talent, developing coaches and whatnot. Because I still think there is a side.
The old is the old, right? And I agree with you on that, bro. Like to finish it out, you know, I'm not sitting here saying that things haven't been tough to watch these past couple of years. I'm not going to say that. I know it has been, but. I'm also on the other side of that. I'm not ready to say all of that is because of Tomlin. In a way, it is because you're the one putting us in the same position.
That's what I'm getting at. I don't think it's all just because. And I think it's not all just because of him. He is a great coach, and I'd probably be sad to see him leave. I really would. At the end of the day, I would. And I'm not trying to cut you off. This is all I'm getting at. And this is this because this is what the media is saying. Yeah, it's not all on him, but when you get to this point, you have to point to the head coach. Okay. It's what comes with the job. It's not. I understand. It's not the person I'm attacking.
I agree with that.
It's not the person I'm attacking.
I know.
It's the HC. I don't give a shit if the HC I'm not going to say what I was going to say. I'm not going to pull out the Jesus card. Shout out to Jesus, my Lord and Savior. But I don't care who the HC is. I got to point to him after this. I'm going to point, that's just how I feel.
I agree, but then there's a side of it because I know Steelers fans, bro. I know us. I know y'all, and I know us. So at the end of the day, we fired Tomlin, right? I'm just saying, man, y'all got to look at it from this perspective because this is probably the realest outcome if we fire Tomlin. I'm just being real because the Steelers, one of them organizations, like, it's a lot of things that got to be set in play. If Mike Tomlin was to leave, he wouldn't be leaving the next guy with a roster like Cowher left him. That's going to be number one, right? Okay, so you're not leaving a roster, the same type of roster that you left when you picked it up. Having every dude there to make
that means he was great at developing.
to make a Super Bowl run, right?
And it also means that his coordinators he left him with, he was great at making them as great. I'm just saying he left him with a great setup.
Who, the coordinators?
Cowher left Tomlin with a great setup all across the board.
Yeah,
the reason Tomlin isn't going to leave the next guy with a great setup is because he's not doing so good.
I don't think that's true. But what I'll say is this: I think he did get left with a great setup, but Cowher didn't win the championship with that roster that he had. He won the championship, so I'll leave that there. But then I'll also say this:
he got Ben, right?
Tomlin, who?
Did Ben start Ben start 1 year with Cowher, right? Or no, he came in that
year, right? he came in with Cowher in like 04, whatever the case.
Yeah, but 05. I think 05 was Tomlin, right?
No, Tomlin ain't come till he won the Super Bowl in his first year, so that was 08, 09. But
his second year.
No,
it was his first year.
It was his first year.
Sheesh.
08, 09, right? So at the end of the day, you inherited someone that Cowher didn't win the past 4 years with them, but when you came in, you won the Super Bowl. I'm gonna put that there. But then I'm gonna also say this. I don't think it's that the next dude will be coming in because I just think the guys that we do have, right, we have a whole bunch of talent. I'm not going to sit there and say the next guy's not going to come in with anything. I'm just going to say that it's not the complete team that Tomlin came in with. There's still going to be change. There's still going to be things that you need. If you get rid of the coach, you're still going to need to find someone after A-Rod. You're still going to need to find another wide receiver too. That's what I'm saying. You don't got guys that are there that are Hines Ward and all these dudes that you already had there in place that okay, this is the guys we're rocking with. I don't even need no outside anything. But if the next dude that comes in, there's still going to be some things there that you need. Yeah. With that being said, it's not going to be a better situation. I promise you it's not. I can tell you exactly how it's going to go. If we was to get rid of Tomlin, the next dude would come in. We're not a patient fan base. Again, our standards up there. So look at when we make playoffs and not make a run at it. Look at how we act. Now imagine if we don't make the playoffs at all. Y'all can say, "Oh, well, we're rebuilding." No, y'all ain't gonna be happy. I know y'all. We live in a moment over here. Y'all might think y'all don't, but then when the moment comes, y'all gonna be like, "We're losing. We're the Browns." Da da da. I know. I already know.
Yeah, we missed playoffs that 1 year.
So
Juju and them.
Yeah,
we acted astounded, of course.
Yep. So I think it'll get to a point where we will be very bad, and we'll see badness that comes from it, and then we'll be ready to hang the next dude that gets in there, and then we'll all be like, damn, we didn't have it so bad. Or you could look at the approach of there's things that you need. What I'm saying is, bro, is basically like I don't think the head guy is the main reason. I think
in this case he only is because I think he has so much control.
But you all right? Okay, I agree. But then this comes back to my point, right? And this is the last point I'm making. I swear. When we had Tomlin was still the head guy when we had Todd Haley, bro. Mm-hmm. He was still the head guy when we had Dick LeBeau. Even when after he first got there, we kept him for a while, right? So what I'm saying is, when we went to the Super Bowl, when we did all those things, he was still the head guy there, bro.
Yeah, I agree.
So that's why I don't put everything. You want to know why we was winning? Because the coordinators were doing their job.
But that was back when he allowed them to.
How do we know, bro? That is so condescending
because you can see it within the
because it's like, bro, you don't know.
We're not throwing across the middle of the field
every day, bro. We're not there.
We're not throwing across the middle of the field.
Is that Tomlin's fault?
Tomlin literally says that he hates throwing in the middle of the field. It's turnover prone. A lot of what we see on the field is a lot of Tomlinism stuff. You got to think this horrible zone stuff that we do, and we let people just rip up the middle of the field. Since he's the D-backs guy from the past, and he's been a D-backs coach in the league, wouldn't you think that over the years he'd want to change that? If he has an insight, if he's the head guy, that falls to him. That has to, mostly because it's a specialty.
Again, we're taking guys' backgrounds, right? And then we're saying, oh, just because he had this prior knowledge that he should be held. He had defensive experience, so he should be held for this on the defense.
He's on the team.
He's a defensive
That's
guy.
That's like AR. I expect him to be a quarterback.
He's a defensive guy. He's a defensive guy, so he has his hands in all this. That is just not the case, bro. There's so many dudes on the staff to where you're gonna let them do what they do. I'm pretty sure Tomlin is not the guy that's going in there. Hey man, I don't think Tomlin's the guy, the head coach. There's certain head coaches that are like, yeah, I need to have my nose in everything. Tomlin's not one of those.
But
I don't.
That's just my
honestly.
opinion.
I think that's why. If he was that, it would be different because then he would nip guys in the butt more instead of being so friendly.
But we both don't know, I guess. We
don't know. So you can't sit here and talk.
But that's
as
my
if
point.
We do.
You think he does it? I think he does. I think he micromanages to a level of he doesn't let people fully blossom.
So you're going to so do you think he was micromanaging Todd Haley and them?
No, that's my point. I think now but you're not getting at how
Tomlin changed as a coach.
He changed
his approach as a coach.
This is my thing. Those guys were already proven. Todd Haley may have not been fully proven. My point is his approach can change. He was less scared back then. He had a quarterback to throw in the middle of the field. He had coordinators that were already proven. So therefore, maybe he didn't change as a person, but his approach might have changed. When you're in a certain environment and those guys move on, now it's your time to appoint other people, and you have more control as you build up your resume. It took seasons for him to get comfortable enough to call all the shots.
Listen.
When you come into a new position, you ain't the first day going to say, hey, Dick LeBeau, shut the hell up. We're going to do this. No, but over time, you build up your resume, yes, you have more of a say. They don't expect a first-year head coach or even a fifth-year head coach to have
I agree with the possibilities of that could be true, right? I'm not going to stamp it as true because, again, I'm not in the room. I don't know. But what I will say is this. He was the same head guy who was there. You could talk about if he changed or if you don't know. You don't know him and you've never seen him coach a practice or nothing like that. So we don't know, right? What I will say is when Todd Haley was there, he let him rock out and he did his thing because he was a good coordinator. You let certain defensive coordinators do their thing, and they was good defensive coordinators. Maybe he's doing the same exact thing as he was back then, but these guys that we have at coordinators are not the guys.
Maybe.
Is that not a possibility?
That is.
Is that not a possibility?
I'm just starting to not believe that so. But yeah, I mean, we could.
I think that is a possibility. I think if Terrell Austin took that nut-ass defense to any other team, they're going to look just like the Steelers. I think if you put... I mean, bro, it's proof. It's in the
pudding. This is my thing with Tomlin. This is actually the last thing I'm gonna say because we go 2 hours. Goddamn, this is what I'm gonna say. Tomlin, and I honestly, if anybody's watching this, I really
there's
don't
no
know
way you
what you're
make.
on.
No way
at this
you
point,
make
we're
it to
just
the
having
point.
fun, or not because I'm talking about the same guy. Which, so the thing is with him. This is my last thing.
Mm-hmm.
I'm willing, and I'm not gonna make this too open ended. You can after this if you want. I'm not willing to go through this more. I want it to be over just like you do. I think the time has come. Not that he can't go switch a team around. And yeah, it would kind of suck to see him go to the Giants or something and have a quarterback and go off and us be over here doing bad. But I'm willing to take that jump.
Yeah, okay.
Okay.
I agree, yes.
I will take a lot of back what I say about building up coaching trees, about developing players if he stays, which I think he will, and he has this window, which is a huge window right now. This will solidify his time as the coach of the Pittsburgh Steelers. He has the draft in Pittsburgh this year. I don't care what anyone says about location. That does build up hype, not just to us, to the coaching staff. They have to do well. He has the draft in Pittsburgh this year. It might not be the highest draft pick, but we have a lot of compensation picks. We have a quarterback that we think will probably move on after this year, possibly one more. He has a 5-year span right now, in my opinion. 5 years, because 7's a lot. Almost another decade's a lot. He has half a decade, if he stays, to really do something other than what he's been doing. Get out of, and not just out of mediocrity or win one playoff game. No. He has 5 years to go back to the standard. It has to be AFC, and that I'm not even being that strict in saying 5 years we have to win a Super Bowl. We have to be contender to the point where it's the last 4. We have to be in the AFC Championship in the next 5 years for me to give Tomlin the full okay. But right now, I just am not willing to not say that he hasn't developed players and not say that he... And yeah, at once he did, but I'm just saying You can,
but we can't.
People can lose their spark though. We can't take
That's
away
true.
their past.
All right, that's a
Let's
perfect.
just say
That's
he's
the
lost
perfect.
his spark.
That's a perfect way to
I'll
put
just
it,
say that.
bro. That's a perfect way to put it.
When I
you can
say
that.
something
You can say a person lost their spark and stuff like that, and that makes sense. I can resonate with that.
The way you communicate with me, and not just me, just period, and the way I communicate might not always come together because this is the thing. You got to look at it like this. What I'm stating about the present isn't what I'm saying about the past all the time. And yeah, I might get over emotional and be like, I don't usually say he's never been.
But when you say something, okay, there's a difference between saying someone's not capable of something when you've seen it before, right? And then say, that's where I come from.
He hasn't been doing that as of late.
Yes, when you say someone can't develop talent, I'm gonna come back with you as saying he can't develop talent. That's all he's been doing.
I'm wrong about that because he can develop talent in terms of his overall arc, but lately I don't see one guy we've really developed.
And I agree, but you know what? I
think
Broderick got better. I don't think we missed everything, bro. I just think, at the end of the day, when you have your quarterback, it's like why you think the Patriots are able to go from trash bag to 9-2 because they got their guy.
Drake Jacob.
They got their guy, bro. So at the end of the day, we're stuck at that position where we don't have our guy. So I'm not putting everything on. But even then, you say you have a chance. Look at Justin Fields, man. He played decent for us, right? He probably maximized the most we could have got out of Justin Fields. Now he's dog shit, right?
The Jets aren't the best place to be either.
And I agree with you, but this is where we talk about coaching, and this holds a lot of weight. What I'm about to say, this holds a lot of weight. Yeah, I know, bro. This holds a lot.
If it was 2.
This holds a lot of weight, though. What I'm going to say, bro, it does. It does. If you think it doesn't, then you're a hater, in my opinion. That's just my opinion. But you look at A-Rod, who had a way better roster last year than what he has this year on the offensive side of the ball.
He came to a place with stability. But also, Kenny Pickett went 10-7 with us too. He would have did way worse with the Jets.
But that's my point, bro. So
yeah,
and we see what Kenny Pickett is now. And like I said, we don't know what he could have been.
Yeah.
We see what Kenny Pickett is now. We see what all these guys that leave us, what they become, what Deontay Johnson became. He went to bounce.
We all know this.
But when Deontay was with us, he was one of the top route runners in the league.
Well, Tomlin
he was one of the top route runners in the league. That's coaching. That's coaching.
Yeah, no, he's a good coach. I've never said he's not a good coach.
To maximize your talent, and this ain't just for you, bro. I'm not just going against you. This is for the people.
Yeah.
But at the end of the day, we can't sit here and say things can be true. Yeah, I think we need to move on from them. We ain't doing shit. We're not the true contenders. Yeah, we fall victim to a weak AFC this year. So in the back of my head, it's like, yeah, we could make at least a divisional run, in my opinion. But if we don't, I wouldn't be surprised. If we did, I wouldn't be surprised. But what I will say, yeah, we're not in a position right now to truly compete at the top level. I agree with you. I think there does need to be a change. I think Tomlin might have to be part of that change. But what I will say, I can't discredit someone for all the good you've done. All the good you continue to do with the sorry-ass team we have. Our team's sorry.
Yeah, I know.
Other than the top name guys that we have.
That's also why I'm being so
we're sorry.
aggressive to my
We're
approach
sorry,
with
but
them.
that's my point.
Stuff unfolds,
that's my point in saying, though, it ain't going. But Tomlin go leave and he go to a roster that's there. We know what he could do. He did it with us. When he inherited a roster that was a championship roster, he taken him to the championship. But when you got guys that we ain't had a championship roster since the Killer Bees, and we still didn't have a championship roster. We just had a championship offense. So what are we really?
A different approach then.
I agree with you. That's where I agree, bro. Do y'all understand what I'm saying? I agree that we need to move on with Tomlin. My bad for cutting.
If he goes to Jackson Dart, he would make his career worse in terms of taking shots and really being aggressive on offense.
We don't know that because he's not going to go there and be the old coordinator. He might hire a dude that's done it and let them rock out. We don't know that. We can't just say here, this is what this man's going to do. We don't know that.
That's a prediction, though. That's the point of what we're doing in a way, right? We're going to say stuff like that.
Of course, but when we're talking about a coach specifically, we can't say what they're going to do and what they're not going to do because at the end of the day, we don't know. And the realistic situation is he's still on the Steelers. He hasn't moved somewhere else. Yeah. So that's me saying, okay, we don't know what he would do if he went to a different scenario. He came to us and he won a Super Bowl. You see what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So we don't know what he could do when he gets a new environment, new opportunity. I think if he goes somewhere else, he'll thrive.
I think he would do well bringing a team back like what they're trying to do with Pete Carroll. I do not think that he would go to a team that's a true contender right now and make them necessarily better. He'd probably keep them there, though, because he is good at making the ship rock. But that's my last thing. Honestly, throughout the rest of the season, just because of this episode, I'm going to try not to bring up Tomlin. I know that's hard to do, but I'm going to mostly assess players. You can
bring up Tomlin. I don't care.
No, I don't mean because of our interaction. I more or less mean because I'm getting tired of talking about him, not to you, to myself, to my father, to everyone. I want to see what happens at the end of the year, and then I'll start talking about him in the offseason. But right now, I mean, I'll say well-coached game or bad-coached game, but I'm not necessarily going to make it a whole I hate Mike Tomlin or I love Mike Tomlin.
You know how you were saying the structure thing, right? My bad, bro. You talking about the structure thing, right? Like, okay, A-Rod came to a structured team. What brings that structure, though? Is it not the coaching?
Yeah, it does. No, I mean, that's why I always say he's a good coach. He's not a bad coach.
Okay, bro. So that's why it's like, okay.
But I'm bringing up qualities and you're getting more or less not defensive of him fully, but you're being real. I'm speaking facts. I'm
saying my opinion,
but you're speaking facts that I share with you. I'm not gonna tell you. But since I'm coming from a different emotional end at the time, that doesn't mean I disagree with what you're saying. Yeah, I'm saying he's a good coach.
But this is just.
But I know he's a good coach, so we're arguing with the wall at this point because we both know he's a good coach.
Yeah, but when I say good coach, I'm not talking about you. I'm talking about
I know them too.
The Steelers fans that sit here and say Tomlin's a bad coach. Have I not been saying this whole episode? Yeah. Two things can't be true.
Those old head dudes in Pittsburgh are stupid, saying the Rooney rules why he got hired, which is wrong.
Where I disagree with you was just in saying like that he holds the responsibility of all the coordinators and stuff. That's where I disagree. Yeah, you can have your opinion. That's where I disagree because I feel like we got it. I mean, coordinators are there for a reason. They're getting paid big money. At the end of the day, Arthur Smith has enough experience to where if he felt something wrong was coming from Tomlin, I'm pretty sure he would voice that to Tomlin and they would work it out. I think we're putting too much. We're putting too much, and it ain't just you. I mean, everybody said, like, whenever it's this, that, it's Tomlin. Relax, bro. Relax, bro. We got 11 players out there on the field on offense and defense, bro. We got 11 players on offense and defense, bro. At the end of the day. Mm-hmm. They got to go out there and play. Yeah, coordinators got to go out there and coordinate. And Tomlin is not the only coach on the team.
But the players got to play. Point.